Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Item number 3, public comment. Is there any public comment? Public comment. Step up to the mic and name and address, please.
Emily Granado, 31 Grand Street.
Okay.
There is a trailer full of logs on Washington Ave. It's been there for 2 years now. It's an obstruction, and especially now that the reflectors seem to have worn off, so it's dark and no one can see it. I was hoping there's something we can do about it. I called the police a few times. They said that unless the ordinances are changed, it can't be moved. That feels wrong to me, considering it's obstructing more than half the roadway. So that's what I'm here about.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I was going to bring it up tonight.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Public comment going to a third time. Public comment? Okay. Can I have approval for the minutes for November 19th regular meeting?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from November 19th.
Second.
Motion by Trish, second by Bob. All in, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain. Thank you. I was getting there. Okay. Chair votes aye. Please note Selectwoman Stanek and Selectman Lombardi's abstention. Oh, Selectwoman
No, Selectman.
No, I said it.
Bruno said it.
Me and Pat.
Sorry. Bruno and Lombardi. Sorry.
You're like me.
I apologize, Mr. Stanek.
You said Mrs.
Oh, God. She's on my mind.
Nice to know that. Thank you.
Discussion and possible action regarding the awarding of the bid for Bungay Road, West Church Street, and Botsford Road reconstruction. Brian Nesteriak.
Good evening. For the record, Brian Asteriak, B&B Engineering. After an awfully long waiting period and design period, I think it's something like 8 years, we finally have not only a low bidder for the Bungay Botsford West Church project, but about 2 hours ago I also got an authorization to award from the state of Connecticut. So I think this, should you decide to approve this, is the last step to actually get this project underway. We received seven bids in all. They range from about 5.7 million to just under 8 million. I did some reference checks on the low bidder, and everything came back squeaky clean. A lot of glowing references. So it's my recommendation to go ahead with the low bidder, who is DeRita and Sons Construction out of Middletown. It's a family business. They do a lot of municipal work, and I think they'll do some good things with this project. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Does the board have any questions?
My only question is, when do we think this is going to start?
I talked to Peter DeRita, who's the president of the company, about a week and a half ago, right after I was going through all of the references. And he said if we're ready to go, he could probably get started in January.
Okay.
That being said, January, February are tough months, obviously.
Right.
So a lot of the initial work might be setting up staging, potentially some minor drainage work. But I would assume in the next month or two you'll see some work, and then the real heavy work will start probably in March, middle of March.
Thank you.
And what was the time period to do?
It's the contract work in accordance with the state specifications is 12 months. December, January, and February don't count towards those in accordance with the state specifications. So they'll get January and February free. They'll be able to work. Then you get 12 months, and then they'll get next December, January, February as well. So you're probably talking about 15 months of work. And that is broken up into 4 phases. The whole road is not ripped up for 15 months. It's just small sections or quarter sections along the way.
And those are milestone payments based on,
So it's all based on quantities, so that's part of the administration that we'll be doing. As they do work, they get paid based on the quantities that they've completed. So depending on how much earth excavation they've done, how much curbing they put in, sidewalks, we'll calculate all that out, and then they get paid. The way the program worked, this is a LOTSIP program. The low bid was 5.7 million. The town is going to receive a check for 5.7 million plus 20%, and then that's how you pay for everything that it comes that they do. At the end of the project, if there's anything left over, you have to give that back to the state.
If I may,
Absolutely.
is the plan still to shut the road down to one way toward the schools still?
Yes.
Okay.
In each phase. In each.
Could you
individual
just
phase.
explain that?
Sure. So it's broken. The majority of the heavy work is from just below the high school down to the Historical Society. That is the heavy work. There's also a mill and pave operation that is going to occur from Brookfield Road up to Great Hill Road. That kind of gets done whenever they have time. It's not a huge inconvenience to the residents. The heavy work from the high school down to the Historical Society is broken up into 4 phases. At any given time, one phase will be being worked on, and it will be one way going up towards the high school while they are doing that work. If we keep it open to two-way traffic, I guarantee I can't get this done in 12 months. So after a lot of discussions with the state and the town and a lot of the officials in town, it was determined that that minor inconvenience is worth just getting this done faster. That answer your question?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted the public to know
Sure.
that that's what's going to happen.
Is it going to be clear where the traffic's diverted, I presume?
I'm sorry?
If we're making it one way, it will be clear.
Oh,
There'll
sure.
be signage to ensure.
Yeah, not only for traffic, but for emergency vehicles.
Yeah.
We went back and forth on whether it was one way down or one way up, and basically all of the emergency response agreed that they need to go up because obviously everything is down here, and if there's an emergency, they're going to be heading in that direction. But a one lane of traffic has to be passable at any given time during each phase, and that may move from one side to the other, depending on what kind of work they're doing, but it is required.
Are we going to keep it one-way consistent? Not one-way consistent, but the direction of traffic, so
It's
we're not.
always up.
Okay, it's
Always
always
up
going
the
to be
hill.
up. Okay,
Yes. Again, for emergency vehicles, they have
I agree,
preferred that.
understood. Thank you.
Sure.
While we're on the Bungie Road, what's going on with the quarrying and paving it?
I talked to the contractor this morning. They were supposed to start yesterday. Just to back up for a second. This is about the bumpy patches that the water company has done over the past few months. They have been directed to go back in and fix a few of those patches because they're obviously substandard. They were supposed to do it yesterday. Obviously, they got rained out. They have assured me it will be done before the plants close. Plants are closing either Friday or next Friday. But he was adamant, it's Garrett Griffin of Griffin Brothers, he was adamant that they will be in there and they will take care of this before the plants close.
Okay.
G&H Paving has been contracted to do the fix.
Well, I would hope that that gets done within a reasonable amount of time, excuse me, of the plant's closing. It's not only a hardship on motorists traveling that particular road, but it's also a hardship for our Public Works Department to be plowing.
Sure, absolutely.
So, it needs to be addressed.
Yes.
Picking up some manhole covers.
And anybody else?
I just want to say, this is an exciting evening. We're talking about the renovation of Bungie Elementary School, or a new school, and we're talking about the roadway to the school also. I think it's an exciting evening for Seymour.
I agree. It is an exciting project. It's going to be an inconvenience for a little while for a lot of us. But when it's done, I think everybody will appreciate the improvement.
Yeah, the road needs it.
And the road needs it, certainly.
Brian, are you planning another public information session like you had previously?
We were talking about having one after all this administration got completed, so we
Sure.
were thinking maybe after the beginning of the next year, we'll have
Sure.
something for the public to.
The session that you previously conducted was excellent, very
thank you.
informative. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to get the contractor involved before we do the next public information session to make sure that they have any input in how they're actually going to implement all this. So that'll be the next step.
Okay, Brian, can you just recap for the board? There were some board members on when this plan went into place, when we went into for the LoSiP. Can you explain to the board members as well as those watching at home exactly what is being done to the road, so everybody gets an understanding as to how deep down into the road we're going and the depth of this work?
Sure. So again, I'll start with the smallest part, which is from Brookfield Road up to Great Hill Road. We're going to be replacing all the catch basin tops just to clean that up, milling about 2 inches down, and putting a new coat of pavement on it. I think we also have an under drain somewhere down by Brookfield Road where there's a drainage issue. So that's the easiest part of the work, and that'll just be fit in depending on when the contractor can get to it. The heavy part of the heavy construction part of the project goes from the high school down to Historical Society. So that is a total, complete road reconstruction. That is a replacement of all sub-base material going down about 23 inches from the surface course. So you have to remove everything that's there. You have to bring in new base, bring in new sub-base, and then asphalt on top of that. New curbs, sidewalks. We're going to fill the gaps and replace any broken sidewalks from the high school all the way down to the Historical Society. So you will be able to walk from one section of that road all the way up to the end. New curbing, new drainage. We do have to relocate 28 utility poles, I believe it is. Obviously the water line has been done. What else? Some grading, landscaping. There's a handful of shrubs and bushes and trees that we have to also take care of. And then just a general improvement of the area. The biggest improvement that you'll see is that the road will have consistent widths. We'll have curbs on both sides. It will have drainage. The lanes will be will be the same all the way up until you get to Bungay School, where you have parking. The parking will be striped, so that it'll be a little more organized up there. There won't be any low spots. There's a section down just above Emma Street, which has low spots where obviously all the potholes form because the ice builds up. So all that will be taken care of. Just a general reconstruction of the entire road.
And if I can just ask, the sidewalks, how far along do they go? The whole stretch?
The whole stretch.
Okay. Right now, they're just broken up.
So
parts, right?
there's sidewalks in some places,
Right.
there's asphalt sidewalks, there's concrete sidewalks, and then there's areas where we just don't have any sidewalks.
Right.
So they'll all be concrete sidewalks.
And on one side of the road?
Down on the lower end towards the Historical Society, it'll be on the north end. Then it has to transition over to the south end,
Okay.
just because we just don't have enough room. But you will, between the sidewalks and crosswalks, you'll be able to walk from the Historical Society on a sidewalk all the way up to the high school.
Is there any gas line work that's associated with the project?
There is none.
And crosswalks will be put in properly.
It'll be striped. We even have some signage, obviously, and the little markings for crosswalks. It's all has to be done to DOT standards, so yeah, it'll be pretty obvious where the crosswalks are.
Okay, great, thank you. Has anybody
There's
had
2 crosswalks.
2 crosswalks right in front of the funeral home, correct? Because I know that was a concern.
That there is not a crosswalk in front of the funeral home anymore
Okay,
because it was required to be removed by the state. It's a blind corner, so we couldn't
Right.
physically put the paint down on the pavement.
okay,
There is a crosswalk up just past Emma Street, and there's a crosswalk up at Bungay to get over to Balance Rock. We're also putting a sidewalk on the Balance Rock side so that people don't have to walk on the road as they do today.
okay. And in front of the Historical Society, there's still gonna be the crosswalk over
Yeah,
there.
the intersection crosswalks remain, yeah.
Okay.
There's 2 new ones on the road.
Right, so that's gonna be brought up to, current
Yes,
standards.
so that whole intersection at West Street, is being redone, with proper ramps, crosswalks, the radiuses are going to be changed.
Okay.
That whole thing is gonna operate much better.
Great.
It widens out way too much there, so we're gonna bring that
Right,
all in.
right.
We're gonna keep the parking, but also add the crosswalks and the ramps that are needed there.
I just wanted to follow up on Selectman Lombardi's question about the gas lines. Did you look at having gas lines brought in up that way?
So we didn't, because this program doesn't allow any kind of private infrastructure improvement like that.
Okay.
So all we do look for is conflicts, and then if the conflicts are there, then the gas line has to move them,
Sure.
and there weren't any.
Okay.
I have one question,
Absolutely.
because I like to ask questions that, I know you've already addressed and know, or already know, but I don't. With how deep you're going from Bungay down to the Historical Society, how quickly, once they dig down that deep, do they add the asphalt or the layers that they need to add? And the reason I'm asking is in my head, I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, if we get a large rainfall, do we have to worry about washout for the other side of the road that we're
Sure.
keeping open?
First off, we'll have an inspector on site every day, and obviously I drive through there twice a day, so maybe once a day now since it's going up. It's usually immediate. So every contractor that I've ever worked with on a road reconstruction job like this, they will remove the material, load it out, and they'll immediately have trucks coming in and depositing the engineered fill. So normally it's not more than a few hours that excavation is open.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. So can I have, a motion to accept the bid presented by B&B Engineering?
I'll make a motion to accept the bid
Second.
for Dorita and Sons Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $5,722,749.
Motion by Trish,
Second.
second by Al Bruno. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Brian, for your work.
Yes, thank you, Brian.
Well, you might as well not go
I'm not
anywhere.
going
He's
anywhere.
not going anywhere.
Discussion
We
and
know.
possible action regarding the awarding of the bid for the underground storage tank removal at Bungay School, Seymour Middle School, and Seymour High School.
So, we put together a bid, this has been going on for a few years now, but we put together a bid to remove the unused tanks at the 3 schools. We received 7 bidders to this contract, and they range from $98,000 to $320,000. We did do reference checks on the low bidder. Everything came back fine, and we are recommending that you award it to Red Technologies in the amount of $98,000.
Discussion? Any questions before we go?
No questions.
Bob?
No, just the Seymour Middle School one felt like it seems like it's lower than a lot of the others. Any misses there, anything that would
Nope.
stand out?
So the Seymour Middle School is in the back. It's in a landscaped area, whereas the Bungay School is right underneath the sidewalk, and the Seymour High School is underneath the sidewalk and the driveway. So the restoration of that area is going to be a little more involved. That's all. And just to add to that, so they have to first pump out whatever in the tank. Then they have to physically remove the tank. Then they have to fill it in with some sort of material, clean material, and then they have to restore it. So the restorations on the Bungay and high school add to the cost of what's needed on those jobs.
And this is removal and not abandoned in place, correct?
That is correct.
Teresa,
I'm good.
correct?
So the contaminated soil figure of $6,200 covers all of the schools?
Yes, because we don't feel as though there's going to be any or much contaminated soil, because a few years back, we actually did some proactive work to do borings on the outskirts of these tanks, and nothing came up with any kind of indication of contamination. So we're hopeful that that will lead to no contamination.
The 4.7 is so they're all doing the same amount of estimated soil. Is that
Yeah, we put in the
You
quantities.
see, you put the quantity in, right?
May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve B&B Engineering's recommendation for Red Technologies to do the underground storage tank removal project at the schools for a total bid of $98,050.
Second.
Motion by Trish, second by Bob. Under discussion, I have nothing. Anybody else under discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, now go anywhere, Brian. Discussion and possible action regarding the awarding for the bid of the police department rooftop unit for the HVAC project. Ryan Asteria.
So we helped put together a bid to replace the large rooftop unit on the police station. The thing is the size of the bathroom, or twice the size of that. It's huge. This is a little outside of my expertise, so we brought in a mechanical engineer to help us with the bid specs. They put together a full set of plans. We put those out on the street. We received 4 bids ranging from $249,000 to $342,000. Again, we went through all the reference checks, and we found that Earth Core Energy Services had more than enough capabilities to take care of this project, and we recommend awarding it to them.
Great. Board members have any questions?
What do we have in place to hold accountable for proper work should something go wrong later?
Well, it requires a warranty. So, I mean, that's all I can, they're licensed contractors, and
How long is the warranty generally?
I wish I could, I don't have that off the top of my head, but it is a standard warranty with these types of units.
Brian, have we
I
had
think
any
10.
issues with the performance of the HVAC at the high school?
Yeah. So it might be 1 year labor and 10 years for the actual parts and the production of the unit itself. I'm sorry.
So Brian, have we had issues with the HVAC system that was put in by them at
Yeah.
the high school?
Yeah, there's been a lot of issues for 5 years. How many years have we had issues with the unit?
The existing unit right now? It's about 25 years.
Yes, it's way past its design life. And for years, as far as I know, that there's been a lot of issues with it. And we did talk to the mechanical engineer and asked him if there was any way to repair it, and there isn't. I don't think they make parts for it anymore. It's not as efficient as they make them nowadays, so the general...
Past its useful life, yeah.
Yeah, it's way beyond its useful life. Yeah. And it does handle the majority of the building. There's a couple other units that service the building, but this is, I don't know, 80-90% of the building it handles.
Any other questions? Can I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve B&B Engineering's recommendation for Earth Core Energy Services to bid of $249,382 to replace the system at the police station.
Motion by Trish,
Second.
second by Bob. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 7-0. Don't go anywhere. Discussion and possible action regarding the bid for the community center third floor HVAC improvements. Brian Asteria.
So similar to the last one we just talked about, I'm sure you're aware that, I don't know if it's the third floor or the second floor, depends on who you talk to, but the top floor. There's plans in place to try to finish that out, turn it into an office space. I think an annex to the town hall. So we were asked to put together a bid package for the mechanical and the HVAC for that section of that top floor. And we did get some bid specs from a consultant. We got 4 bids back just late last week. They ranged from $92,000 to $370,000. Obviously did our due diligence, and we are recommending approval to Blizzard Mechanical for $92,000.
Okay.
So this will be the heating and the air conditioning of that section, which is about two-thirds of the top floor in the area, thereabouts. I don't see a easier way to handle the HVAC for this scope of work.
The third floor would also be used for programming for the community center as well.
Okay.
If I may.
Was there any, oh, sorry.
What do we know about these folks?
Sorry,
We used them before, we checked the references.
I don't
We've got
know
a
if we've
$50,000
checked.
swing here.
Oh
between
no, I
next-
understand that. Yeah.
And I have a
Um,
little concern about that.
Yeah.
So my wife Beth, you'll see that she's the one that signed this. So she did the reference checks, and all I really know is that they came back fine and appropriate for this kind of work. These are mini splits. There are multiple mini splits that are going to be put on the roof. We just replaced the roof, so it's pretty straightforward work.
Did these bids go out at the same time?
Bids of what?
For this work, when they went out? These were 2 separate.
For the HVAC,
The-
for the
the
police.
The community center and the
And
police
the police
station,
station,
2
yeah.
separate bids. One went out maybe 4 weeks ago. One went out 3 weeks ago. But they're 2 totally separate packages.
You're talking about for the police department, cooling and heating an entire building. And
Yeah,
the
the-
community center, just the third
The
floor.
police department unit is not even close to what we're
No.
not even close
No,
to
understood,
what we're
understood.
proposing on the community center.
Are we missing the cover page for this?
Yeah, there's no, I didn't see a cover page.
I didn't say
Cover
cover
page for
page.
Well, you provided
your
one of
letter.
these for every one of those.
Yeah, I
But we
don't-
don't have that, we just have this.
Yeah,
You didn't get the letter?
No,
no.
No,
no. That's why we're all a little confused up here
Yeah.
right now.
kind of
I
spurred
have one.
Look at him
kind of
passing
spurred
that.
my query
Thank you.
for the,
It says the same thing as the other ones.
That's why he's asking about
I
when they went out to
apologize.
bid and things, yeah.
I apologize. Someone must have not printed it out.
Yeah, they're not applicable on the maintenance contract.
Can you explain?
I can read it into the record if
What?
that helps.
Yes, please.
Can we do that?
Yeah, why don't you do that?
I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
Hold my,
You want to ask your question?
nope, I'll hold my question, please.
Okay.
Because I know she's going to ask.
So here's a letter addressed to the First Selectwoman, dated December 16th, 2024. Dear First Selectwoman Dragonis, B&B Engineering was asked to assist the town with preparing a request for proposal for the HVAC design build project for the 3rd floor of the Seymour Community Center located at 20 Pine Street. The RFP was issued on November 25th, 2024. One addendum was issued during the bidding period. On December 12th, 2024, 4 bids were received for the project, and a summary of the bids is attached. B&B Engineering reviewed the bids and spoke with references of the apparent low bidder, Blizzard Mechanical LLC. The reference check provided positive feedback and spoke highly of the contractor. For the project we discussed, the contractor performed high-quality work and very responsive. The reference would recommend the contractor for future work. Based on the information reviewed, we recommend moving forward with awarding the contract to Blizzard Mechanical in the amount of $92,000. If you have any questions regarding the proposals or would like to discuss them further, please do not hesitate to contact me. Sincerely, Beth Mysteriak.
Great, thank you. Go ahead.
Now,
Selectwoman.
you did get the summary of the bids, right?
We did.
Yes, we did.
So my apologies to you and Beth.
I'm sorry you guys didn't get that.
Thank you.
I'm gonna ask just a couple questions,
Sure.
so I understand. What is a SAM number?
So SAM, I don't have a good explanation of this, but SAM is a federal, some sort of federal program that requires registration. And they do need to get their SAM certification in order to move this forward, although it's pretty much a formality. But because this, I believe the funding for this is coming from ARPA funds, they're gonna need to get that.
Okay.
And we have that.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
It came in.
required on a lot
Even
of
better.
our ARPA stuff.
No, I understand. I appreciate that. I was just concerned, like, if this is important. I didn't know what it was, but I'm like, if this is important, why don't they have one? My other question is, they're the only firm that doesn't have the 1 or 5 year bid alternate maintenance contracts?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that
There's-
too.
correct, yeah, it was left out.
So there is no
I don't have an
maintenance.
answer for that.
I'd like to find out.
We're gonna award them something and there's no
Yeah.
number for that.
There's no contract, which there's no requirement for you to actually exercise that contract either. But this all came in so quickly, we didn't have enough time to actually try to chase that.
I think I would want a little more information, and I'm gonna tell you why, Brian. It's not that I don't trust you and your firm,
No,
but
understood.
I have a real concern, like, there is such a big swing in the price. I love
Right.
that they're so much cheaper, but they're $150,000 cheaper.
Sure.
Terrific. But then I'm looking like, okay, they don't have the SAM number, easy enough to get, but I'm not really understanding why all these other firms that put a bid in have the bid alternate 1 year and 5 year maintenance contracts while they,
Yeah, do they
Have
not
not
offer it?
applicable.
Is it rolled into the price? I mean, we need more info on
I don't have
that.
that answer for you.
And Kurt said that the CM number came in, Trish, so it's
Yeah.
not.
And when I look
yeah,
at-
no, I said, and that's fine,
They
that's
just
answered.
awarded
It's-
Earth Core 249 on a major project, and then the smaller project they had a 247 number. Doesn't make sense. Something's
I don't disagree that I was surprised by these numbers, but at the same time, I was very surprised by the $200,000 numbers because
Because all these
This-
are mini
this-
splits, right?
there are many splits on the top of the
Not an
roof
HVAC system.
for 4,500 square feet, I think. So I mean that shouldn't be. Whereas for 250,000, we're doing the entire police station.
right. Well, it's right.
So
Understood.
even though it's a different unit,
Right.
but it shouldn't be 250,000 for 4,500 square feet in one penetration or a couple penetrations into the roof.
Right.
So-
I mean, it is, you have to admit, though, it's concerning when you're getting 4 bids and you've got this one standout, which again, I think is wonderful.
I
I
get
just
it.
want to make sure we know what we're getting into and what's going to be addressed
And Earth Core
before we
gave us an aggressive
jump.
number on the other projects. That's why I was going on the timing. So Earth Core gave us an aggressive project, a number on the other project, and then keeps the same number for this project. They're in town. Why wouldn't they want both projects? Doesn't make sense.
Rich?
If I may, I just want to ask factually, how many mini splits are we talking about?
Well, it's a design build, so they have to determine it, but we're expecting 3.
Three.
3.
3 mini splits, and they gave a price of 90,000.
Yeah.
I just spent a long time in Bridgeport Superior Court on a case that dealt with the steam plant, steam heat, and also dealt with mini splits and what mini splits would cost. I'm more surprised at the $200,000+ price for 3 mini splits for 4,500 square feet than I am for the $90,000 price for 3.
Fair.
Because there was testimony in this case that mini splits in that case that I was involved with were going for between 23 and 30, and that's with a lot of prep work having to be done on this older facility. So I just, when I saw
Right.
the big disparity, when Kurt just mentioned the mini splits, and so I
Yeah, we were
started-
expecting around 100,000.
Yeah, so that's all I'm saying. It's almost like the others bid a different project.
Right.
Right.
Like they
Well,
thought they were bidding
that's
the
what
whole-
I'm.
the whole
That's where I was at.
but in air conditioning. But anyway, that's all I wanted to point out. It just happened to be something that I spent a lot of time on recently.
Could be.
It is not my background, as you know. I'm just an old trial lawyer, not the heating and air conditioning guy. But I did get prices on these mini splits, and it's pretty consistent with your 90,000.
And again, the splits are gonna be right above the area. So what, the connection between the actual unit on the roof and where they go is called a line set. The line sets aren't gonna be very long. So we weren't surprised by the 92, but we were surprised by the other three. That's all I can, that's why we recommended going with that low bidder. But
Fred?
if you want us to get more information, we can try to get some more information first. It's up to you.
Fred?
Thank you. Is this a project being funded with ARPA funds?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And we have to decide this by the end of the year,
Yes, sir.
We have to enter into agreement,
by the end of the year.
correct?
So we have to make a decision tonight.
Well, through you, for a second, we're gonna, when we get into the ARPA section, we're adding some new projects. And we are waiting on some finalized documents. So I would anticipate that we're gonna need to call a special meeting at some point between now and the end of the year. So if there is additional information that the board is looking for, Brian can get that, we can report back to all of you on that. You can make the decision at that time.
Just leave enough time to not only make your decision, but then to exercise the actual contract, which may take, I don't know how long.
We
at least a few days.
We understand people may be away for the holidays and vacation, so we'll make that a Zoom meeting.
These maintenance contract.
The only thing I would point out, again, from a lifetime of experience, it sometimes is hard to get contracts finalized in the week between Christmas and New Year. You may find vendors are shut down.
Yeah.
Folks you can't reach. That is a tough time of year to finalize.
Do you think there's a way that you could possibly get us the information that we need to have before the end of this week, and we can always call a Zoom meeting?
I can certainly try. I mean, it doesn't seem like what I understand would be very hard to get.
Can you explain the
only-
bid alternates? Like what exactly are they not?
The bid alternate was just if we wanted to exercise and have a contract that essentially included all the labor and material of any kind of servicing of these units, it was a 1 year and a 5 year option. So they would have to pay that every year. It's a yearly amount.
And so that would be,
And
That
they may
would
have
be
just
in it-
decided they didn't want to take that. They didn't want the contract.
that would be in addition to the figures that are being proposed?
So that would be paid for like a service contract. If you wanted to exercise it. You don't have to exercise it.
Yep.
So the only thing I could say is possibly they just weren't interested in providing that, which is their
Okay.
option as well.
No, that's fine.
And it could be because these are mini splits, and
There's not much to do with them. I mean, obviously they'll be under warranty, and if there's any defect in the installation or the unit itself, they're going to be on the hook for that. But this is just a service contract.
And Brian, you had feedback on this company, Blizzard Mechanical?
Yes.
You did. It was all positive?
Yes.
Were they large projects that they did? I hate to ask such a silly question.
they
Was
I
it a
can-
small project?
I don't have it off the tip of my tongue, but I can certainly get it, and we can come back to it in a little bit if you give me some time, if you want it. Because it was my wife that chased it down, not me.
Yeah, it looks like they're a fairly new company, 7 years old, so.
They did the Griffin
Oh,
Hospital,
good.
supposedly.
There you go.
They seem like a reputable company.
Good.
I mean, they may be young, but we didn't hear any bad things about them.
what is the board's pleasure?
If we have to have a special meeting anyway for these other new projects, I just want to know that we've asked the question and you come back with your same recommendation, so. I'd
What are
like
the
to table
questions you want
until
me to
that.
ask? Just so I'm very clear on this. Other than the fact of why didn't you bid for the maintenance contracts? Was there anything else?
Well, I know you said there wasn't a whole lot of time to do much of a review because of the time frame of when the bid came in and what had to be done. So whatever you need to do to confirm that the work we require is going to get done for this price, I would feel more comfortable myself. I still, I totally respect all the opinions here. We were expecting more at 100,000. And it's possible these other companies, well, I don't know why they would do that, but maybe they bid and really didn't want to get the project, because I've seen that happen before. It's just a little shocking to the eyes.
Board's pleasure.
Are you concerned about anything, for Selectwoman?
No, I've done my research.
So you're comfortable with this move forward tonight?
I'm
Without
comfortable.
having the numbers in the, maintenance contracts?
No, I don't mind the numbers on the maintenance contract because, again, these are mini splits and there's really nothing for them to maintain.
Okay.
So it's not a whole HVAC system like we're putting in at the police department.
Okay.
Where there is more to maintain. These are mini splits like they're industrial mini splits compared to the mini splits we would put in our homes. But they're just on a bigger level.
Commercial.
They're commercial.
Then I don't have a problem moving it forward. If you're comfortable, Brian, and Anne Marie is,
They did the research, so.
did your homework? You're
And
representing
they still have
that
to
to the board?
design it, and that design has to meet, obviously, the specifications, so there's still a few more hurdles to go through before
Right.
they actually show up and build
Right.
these things. So,
I just don't want to jam it up. To Rich's point, it's a tough time of year to hold something up, and we wanted to get this done for a while, so. That's my 2 cents. Thanks, Amber.
All right, I'll ask one more time. What is the board's pleasure?
If I may, I think Mr. Bruno made a motion.
I'd move to move
Okay.
it forward without any delay. That'd be my motion.
Motion by Al, second by Pat. Discussion.
I say, I will vote in favor of this. We don't want to lose this money. It's the end of the year. We have to get it done. So, Brian, I've known you a long time. I trust you, so thank you.
thank you.
Attorney Stanek? Bob? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
I'm gonna abstain.
Okay.
I just don't feel I have enough right now to make a decision.
Good.
Thank you.
We'll keep an eye on it.
Please, note Selectwoman Danka's abstention. Chair votes aye. Motion carries 6-0-1. Yeah. Thanks, Bri.
Good night, thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Discussion with
Thank you, Brian.
Antonazzi and Associates regarding the Bungay School building project. Mr. Selectman Stanek.
Thank you, Madam First
You're welcome.
Selectwoman. As I said, this is an exciting evening. We have Antonazzi Associates tonight to present cost estimates for a new school, new Bungay school to be built. The consensus of the committee is to build a new school, and the cost estimates speak for themselves, and it's very interesting and exciting. I would like to mention that this evening we have present Pete Kubik, who is co-chair of the committee, the Bungay Elementary Building Committee, along with myself as co-chair. Tim Connors, Trish Danka are also present. Also members of the committee are Rebecca Bennett, Beth Nasteriak, Andy North, Ed Shamel, and Dr. Tom Nobley. Michael Ocaso and Lisa Yates are here from Antonazzi Associates. I have to say they've done an excellent job. They've been very helpful, very cooperative, and I'm amazed at what they've done for us.
So this evening, I'm going to start off. I'm Lisa Yates, architect from Antonazzi. I'm going to give you a brief background and then hand it over to Michael to show you the new building plans and cost estimate comparisons. So, schools of this size, they take a really long time to get going. You've been diligently working on this for a year and a half now. We were brought on board last summer, and we've been working through the beginning of the study. I'll get to the schedule in a minute or two. But, you know, you've been watering the seeds of your new school for quite a long time, and it's still in its infancy, but it's growing. And I'd like to introduce our team briefly. Go to the next one, please. Yep, thank you. No. So just very quickly, Antonazi Associates, K through 12 schools are sort of our mainstay. If we get further into this process and you want to look at furniture, that was a shot of our upstairs balcony, which is a showroom for several K through 12 furniture vendors, and we like to have towns and school districts come by to visit. And K through 12 is really a mainstay of our firm. There are 6 photographs of different projects that are up there right now, and they all started off as studies, just as this is starting off now. And this is what we love to do. We love to take a study and get it built. So, just a few pictures of us. The top row here is Antonazi Associates, Michael and I, and then also Michael Ailes, who worked on Chatfield Lopresti back during that referendum. Patty is our interior designer. She's really helpful with when we interview the local school population. And then our consultants, and especially important on the two ends for tonight, Fran on the left did our educational specifications, and on the right, Tom from Pan American did our cost estimating. And our engineers, that's our school team, that's who we use to build as well as for studies. So this is sort of a conceptual view of our schedule. No, that's all right. You gotta go back up one more. Okay. So we are here in the middle, that's mid-December, and we've already been to your facility multiple times with our team. We've interviewed the school, we've developed educational specifications looking at sort of the ideal parameters of a school for Bungie to meet your learning goals. And we held community workshops, which a lot of you attended, they were well attended. And we developed multiple schemes which fit the educational specifications, namely one for new and one for renovated as new additions to the existing building. And then we received our cost estimates, presented them to the committee, and now we're here. In the future, I know we're going to talk about this, and I think it was point to me on the agenda, about the date of the referendum. So as long as we get our information and the date of the referendum to the state in time for the grant deadline at the end of June. Set a referendum date either before that or after that. So next, I'll take you through a little bit of the background, looking at Bungie itself. First of all, parity. Bungie is a little bit left behind right now. All of the other schools have been recently worked on, and this one hasn't been worked on since the mid-90s. And then another step, we're gonna go through grants a little bit later, but one of the first steps that you have to go through, it's not just, you know, pie in the sky, ideal school, whatever anybody wants. We're looking at eligibility for reimbursement, and there are enrollment related size restrictions to the building. So to take you through this quickly, and I'll be quick, but it's a lot of numbers. So if you look at the top row, those are average areas per child per grade. So we add all of those up, you get to 752. And then we have 6 grades housed. And if you go back up to the top, the 553 number, that's an enrollment projection for the highest enrollment over the next 8 years, which is 2031 to 2032. And then on top of that, because the enrollment projections are looking at K through 5, we add the projected pre-K population for that number. So then you divide it by 6 grades, pre-K through 5, and you get our average area per pupil, which brings us to around 69,000 square feet for a new building. If you're looking at altering and renovating an older building, you get a little bonus from the state. In the case of Bungie, it's just under 5,000 square feet. And the rationale for that is that if you have areas of the building that are constructed before 1959, they're less efficient and you need more space to figure And Bungie is no exception. It's got a 3,000 square foot basement that we can't put kids in, so, you know, that counts against your area, that's an example. So it gets eaten up pretty quickly. And then, this is just a site analysis before we get into the design options. When you look at Bungie, you see you've really built out the flat area that that the school occupies. It's been added onto at least 3 times. And when you go through, you can see sort of the structural transitions where the spine of the building gets longer and longer. And there's grade off to the right, there's grade between the school and fields. So, you know, our renovate is new option, we made it work, but it was constrained to that building area. And then your field is set down from the school right now, so you have to take steps or add a road to a pathway that slopes gently to get down there. We have wooded areas and wetland soils nearby, so it's, you know, it's a generous site, but the building areas are really where you have it now, and also the field is a potential building area. And we know that you're looking at a potential new parcel acquisition, and we'll talk about that and how it could benefit the project as well. And right now, another big issue that you have now is that the buses and the cars come in together and they're forced to turn around and leave. There's not even a loop for one kind of traffic. So with that.
Thank you, Lisa. Again, for the record, my name is Michael Losasso with Antonazi Associates. We're located in Bridgeport, Connecticut. I wanted to share with you tonight the new option that was presented for the board's consideration. You saw the earlier slide that highlighted some of the constraints that we were made aware of through our analysis, and we had additional information not only from the generation of the ed specs and a lot of information given to us by the stakeholders that we interviewed as part of that process, but also the public outreach of the community workshops that we had provided a lot of similar and reinforced a lot of the same information that we've heard. This particular option builds a new building, the blue figure in the center of the image. It is configured so that it's a split level. There's access on the upper level, which is comparable to the location of the existing school, and then also on the lower level, which is analogous to the elevation of the field. This option takes advantage of the opportunity to introduce parking and a bus loop on the lower level. We noticed that with that curve you have a bit of a blind spot, so we were proposing an alternative that introduced a means of achieving 2 things: improving the view for oncoming traffic for that entranceway, and also segregating that so that the buses and public after school is in session would utilize that entrance. The longer section of roadway that essentially approximates much of what the paving looks like today, with the addition of a secondary road that would continue out over a parcel of land that could be acquired to facilitate additional travel, would be relegated to parent drop-off and could also be used midday for the pre-K drop-off and delivery. Obviously, if we're building in the existing fields, we need to reestablish the fields, and so we've demonstrated that the softball field and multi-purpose field can be introduced on the footprint where the Bungie Elementary currently stands. And so, in many ways, I think this addresses a lot of the information that we received. And if we go to the next slide, we'll get an example of a conceptual plan that think of this not really as a final design in any way. This process has another step after the grant is submitted. The project goes back out to bid for design professionals for the actual design. This analysis is really an effort to I guess maybe a test fit would be a way of describing it. It takes the ed specs and produces a plan that demonstrates that they're viable. This also does play with relationships. You can see the color coding, which illustrates the introduction. The magenta specifically is special ed classrooms. That was, again, another item that was deficient in the existing conditions, and an aspirational goal of the ed specs to introduce those, and we've incorporated them throughout the educational spaces, which are green, the instructional spaces. We have central entrance. If you look at the plan on the left-hand side, in the center recess is the main entrance, and that's controlled by the administrative offices. The building is also divided in a manner such that the educational spaces in green can be closed after hours, and facilities like the gymnasium, the auditorium, I'm sorry, not auditorium, the media center, wish it was an auditorium, and the cafeteria could be used after hours without allowing ingress into the educational spaces. So this is an example of some of the alternatives. I think this introduces the opportunity for 21st century classrooms in a new construction. It introduces, or addresses, I should say, indoor air quality and other aspects that I know were specifically concerns raised by the public. And if we can continue on, we'll get into some of the rationale behind the committee's selection of this particular option. Thank you. Oh, we kept this in. This was actually an image that we had generated as part of our RFP response, but it gives you a sense of the size and scale of an approximately similar sized building adjacent to the existing. So this would be constructed entirely independent of the existing school, and theoretically with relatively minor intrusion into the site could be done without disrupting the activities of the school currently. Next slide, please. So we'll touch upon the cost estimates and grant funding. If you go to the next slide, please. There are three general categories that are often considered when grant funding is reviewed. We've addressed this with the public in our community outreach and spoken to the committee about this as well. The renovation option, extension, alteration, and new construction each offer specific benefits and have some drawbacks as well. And we've highlighted at the bottom some additional incentives, and I think there's still one yet to be pursued, or I should say clarified, but the option that was selected takes advantage of some of the benefits that can be afforded. And so if we'll go to the next slide, we'll touch upon that as well. We add this as oftentimes in our presentations to talk about ineligible or non-eligible costs. Those become less relevant in a renovation project. When you have new construction, you do have to be more focused on non-eligible or ineligible costs. And then similarly with an extension or alteration, those also play a factor as well. So this is the slide I think probably the most important from the financial standpoint. And I'd like to just take some time to walk through it. And I apologize, hopefully it's clear enough that you can see. I'm actually struggling a bit, but my eyesight's not terrific. So what we've described here are the two primary alternatives. Option one, that's the central column, describes the renovation as new project, and option two is the new construction project. The first line describes the space standard, and the space standard is the utilizing the enrollment. It's our means of determining how large the school can be. And you'll notice that there's a differential between the renovation and the new construction. The renovation has the benefit of having a portion of the structure older than 1959, and that provides some additional square footage that can be renovated.
Additional basement.
Yeah, in this case. The space standard associated with the new construction doesn't take advantage of that particular increase. The project area is, we like to remind everybody that the area gets a little bit confusing. This, as far as the grant is concerned, it's the inside face of the exterior wall. So it's not the gross area, which would be the outside face of the exterior wall, but the interior space. And that's inclusive of all interior walls, circulation, stairs, and so forth. So we have the ability to, or actually we generated two different options. The renovation is slightly below the space standard, as is the new construction option. So but, a few thousand square feet off one to the other. The estimated construction cost was derived by our cost estimating consultant, Tom Harden, with Pan American Consulting, and we've presented to the committee detailed estimates for both options. There's a summarized cost spreadsheet, and then detailed categories, which are reflective of the plan I showed you, a separate plan that described the renovation project, and then also supporting what we refer to as outline specifications, which essentially define the features and qualities that would be implemented in both projects. We also shared with our cost estimator some of the data that we received from the public outreach workshops, and I believe also included some of the interviews and the educational specifications as well. So they had a very comprehensive database from which to establish their estimates. Raw numbers. Oh, I'm sorry. One other aspect. So the estimated construction cost is it's the cost to put the work into place, and it's the contractor's cost. And in the case of the renovation project, that represented about $50 million, a little under that, and we're at 49.6 for the new construction. Your total project cost factors into the project the costs that would be spent by the town that are not part of construction. So that would represent design fees. It would represent a contingency that the town would hold on the project, any kind of permitting fees that might exist, the state educational fund. There's a number of things. Furniture also goes into it as well, furniture and equipment. True. That and the contingency. So your total project cost, which would be the full cost of the project, is described on the line below that. And for the sake of comparison, really, these costs are virtually the same. There is a slight reduction in the new construction between the two costs, but virtually the same number. And so I think one of the compelling reasons that the committee selected this was really if you are going to spend the same dollars, why not pursue a new construction versus an existing condition that's renovated. Ultimately, both would, in theory, provide the same educational quality, but there's other benefits, I think, associated with the new construction, which I'll touch upon in a moment. When we get into the reimbursement rate, the renovation project benefits from an additional 10% of reimbursement. So that brings you at 66, 67, let's round up, percent, and 57, let's say, round numbers for new construction. However, the state in 2023 passed legislation that indicated that if you can demonstrate that new construction is actually less expensive than renovating the project, you can actually benefit from an additional 10%. So that effectively makes your reimbursement the same for new construction as it would be for renovation project. I'll mention, and I hesitate to offer this without solid numbers, but that we are also still looking at the possibility of additional percentages associated with a full-day pre-K, which is offered by the state as well. It's another additional 10% possibly. So that would make the project even that much more attractive. But at this point, at this juncture, we're confident that the other 10% associated with the new construction would be available. So the state's share for a renovation project is about 39 million, and just under 39.7 roughly for new construction. Seymour's share would be essentially 19 million for 552 for renovation, and 19 million to 8984 for new construction. At the very bottom of this spreadsheet, we also tried to help forecast some of the bonding impact that would result. The state retains payments through the course of the project, and they retain 11% of each payment that's given back to the district until the project is closed out. And so that's money that the town would have to anticipate carrying the burden of until the project's complete. So that's been reflected in that calculation. And then it's not uncommon that some percentage of change orders ultimately are not eligible. We feel that this is a reasonable factor, and we've added that number as well. So factoring in bonding costs, the renovation project would be 24.5 million, rough numbers, and 0.3 million for new construction. So in addition to the slight benefit that new construction offers financially, I think there's a lot of value associated with new construction that can be considered in terms of the displacement of students. If we're opting to renovate the existing facility, we would have to find temporary locations for those students. Now, those costs have been built into our estimate, but there's still a displacement, multiple displacements, most likely in order to renovate that building. That could be either on-site or off-site. If it's off-site, there's an additional issue with regard to travel and transport that's a factor that has not been factored into these numbers. And just the general disruption of the day.
Construction schedule is extended for the renovated schools as well,
Right.
because you're working around an occupied school.
Yeah, new construction is certainly much more efficient. Frankly, we didn't really know how the numbers were going to come out, and I was surprised that they were so close at the end of the day. I think part of that has to do with the additional square footage that's available to the district when looking at the renovation. But
And that new construction includes knocking down the old building, making those fields all
yes, sir.
the same and everything, right?
Yeah, it's a total project.
How about that? How about the pathway to that bus? We have to buy land. Was that
Purchase of the land would not be included,
Right.
but the pathway, the drive would. It has been factored into the cost.
okay?
So paving, so I have a lot of questions, but I'll wait until you're done with your presentation.
This is a good time to hold here. The other stuff is basically just. It's up to you.
No, you can finish, go ahead.
Okay. Why don't we just go to the next few slides then? So this particular one we've touched upon in the past. This is the specific legislation that allows the new construction additional 10% if you're less expensive than renovating. If we go to the next slide, then this is really the summation of it. This is introducing the grant application process, and specifically what we've listed here is the 3 resolutions that are required as part of that. One dealing with funding, the other oversight with the establishment of the building committee, and the third with the introduction of ed specs and a conceptual plan, which you've essentially completed at this point in the process. So that's our summation, and happy to answer questions.
I'll gladly go last. Okay.
I have one to start with. So you said you were a little surprised that the new construction is slightly less. It's basically a wash than doing a reno. Can you explain to me why, in your experience with other schools and similar situations, how it turned out that way?
Not surprised, but I think we weren't really sure how the numbers were going to break out. Generally speaking, with new construction, the benefit is speed. There's a less of a difficulty, I guess, from the contractor standpoint, so that often does translate into better cost. With renovation, you're essentially saving more of the existing facility, so you're not building entirely new superstructure, entirely new foundations. It's hard to predict which way to go. What was surprising to me was how close they were. And
Yeah.
it was just, it's never happened to me before. Usually there's a distinct financial difference from one to the other.
I think we made a real effort in the estimating process to be fair between the two buildings.
Right.
So when we looked at the construction schedule, we carried, I think it was 24 months for the renovated new option,
yeah.
which we thought was fairly aggressive.
Yep.
And, by being aggressive, that makes the cost go down, time is money.
Sure.
And then for the new construction, we carried, let's say it was 14 or 15 months for the building itself.
Yep.
Plus another 4 to 6 for the site. So the overall time period is smaller, but it's still longer because you're doing the site work. We carried full CM costs for all of those months.
So it's about 2 years to,
Yeah. It was a little bit less, it was more like 20 months.
okay,
But it could be that the end of that, you could possibly get, a different deal on the CM's general conditions because they're doing so much less work doing the fields.
yeah.
So they're, and the pain for the students too, and multiple phased
Renovation,
construction
it
and
disrupts
renovation,
instruction.
yes.
Yeah, it's gonna disrupt the school environment. So I'm gonna be honest right now, I saw the numbers, I'm completely excited and thrilled that the new construction is gonna be less than renovating. It's less disruptive to the students, to the staff, to everybody, and we get a new school. So I think even if you get some more percentage reduction, if we do a pre-K at Bungay too, if the state will kick in a higher percentage, honestly, I mean, on its face of what I know now, I'm going to listen to other questions that my colleagues have, but I think it's a really strong idea to have new construction here.
One other aspect I want to mention, or not forget to mention regarding the costing, we didn't calculate the soft costs to the penny, but we used a percentage, which is just generally common practice at this phase in cost estimating. And we utilized the same percentage for new as for renovation. And that was deliberate because we didn't want it to look like we were biased toward new construction. However, we do think that there is an opportunity for possibly saving on some of the soft costs with new construction, whereas renovation does tend to cost more because it takes longer and there's more opportunity for discovered conditions. So you want a greater contingency on the owner's side to protect you against those discovered things.
Sure.
New building will give you energy efficiencies, all those other things that are all the soft costs. That'll be well worth it.
So just one follow-up question before I defer to the other members of the board. With regard to costs, do you foresee, like, what are the predictions in terms of costs for the materials for the school? Because I'd hate to be halfway through this, then all of a sudden materials go through the roof, and now we're going to be paying more than, significantly more, or something like that. I just a general idea. I'm not going to hold you to it. But
So a year ago, we'd be saying, buckle your seatbelts and expect, massive increases. And
right.
And we saw that happen. Actually, it's been a real incline over the past several years. The general indication that we're receiving from our cost estimator, and again, one of the reasons we like working with Tom is that he has many schools every year he does estimates for in the state of Connecticut. So he has a very dialed in, analysis and understanding of what the costs are for school construction each year. They're not forecasting significant increases. There's some unknowns like, if the tariffs that are threatened to get in place, what does that do with steel costs and things of that nature. So there's certainly risk.
4% a year.
Yeah, it wasn't even just 6 a few months ago, so they've actually reduced it.
Okay.
So generally speaking, at least as far as our estimators can predict, it's not a particularly aggressive cost period.
Yeah, because I'm not an economist, so I'm curious about that. And all I heard was from family members who used to build houses, how the cost of materials were through the roof, and that's why nobody's been building as much as they were over the past decade or so.
Right.
So I'm just curious how that translates to schools.
So Tom carried that 4% escalation over 2.5 years to get us to the start of construction.
Okay. That sounds tolerable to me.
Teresa, I'll start with that end.
Thank you. Would it be possible for us to copy this handout?
Of course.
Thank you. And I'm excited that you're looking to do brand new. Chatfield LaPresse School came out wonderful, but the area that it's on, there's not a lot of land surrounding it, so we're always having problems with traffic and parents dropping off students. Where this looks like that will all be addressed. I've been in the school, I've taken the tour. I gotta be honest, and I don't like using the word appalled, but I can't believe the disarray that building's in. I know the administration has tried as best they can to keep it up, but these students deserve a brand new school. I like that we'll be able to keep them in place if we do the build as new and not have so much disruption. My only concern is for a town engineer, will that Bungay Road hold up during all this construction? Is the key word.
Done before you get
Okay, and I hope it'll stay in that kind of shape, but I'm looking forward to seeing what you're gonna be doing down the road. Thank you.
Brad?
I've asked a lot of questions during the committee, but I'll defer to the rest of the board at this point.
Trish?
Same.
No, just on previous projects that you've done, what's your variance on your estimates, plus or minus a certain percentage?
That's a great question. We've been fortunate, I'm afraid to even say it out loud, but we've been fortunate to see our cost estimates hold true.
Right, we only had one, when we had that big round of inflation,
Right.
there was an elementary school that we were working on where we had to adjust the budget, but it happened at the beginning of design. So we were right on by the time we got to the bid. But you know, we saw the cost going up and we raised the alarm
That's
at
great.
the beginning of the process,
that-
but that was exceptional.
That one in particular was, unfortunately, I think the result of the estimator, which was not Tom. It was done kind of right around COVID, actually,
Right,
so
right.
there was a lot of clouds of mystery. But we were able to successfully acquire that additional funding through the state.
And that's the sort of aberration, usually we're quite close.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I love how you took into consideration the bus and, you know, the bus traffic and the car traffic. That's great. So,
That's been a real focus of the committee, the safety of the traffic patterns.
yeah, it's great.
I'm fine.
Oh, my turn. So I am super excited. I think our younger generations, they deserve to be in a school that is new, that is safe, from an environmental standpoint to emotional and mental stability, right? I just have a couple of questions because as much as I would love to see a new school for our younger generations, I have to look at the bigger picture, how it affects all our taxpayers, right? So do we have a breakdown of, on the renovation project, what would be done?
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's
Is,
very
is there a
detailed.
way that we can get a copy of that, of that?
Yes.
I have one.
Yes.
Great.
The detail is phenomenal. You're
Yeah.
going to be,
I apologize, there's some markings here, but just to walk you through.
Or can you just send that to me?
Oh, sure.
That's fine.
But I'll
Because this way I can share it with the rest of the boards as well.
understood. Just to.
Oh, my goodness.
Since there's a,
Yeah.
this is the summary page,
Mhm.
and then behind that is all the detail for both projects.
Okay.
And it's interesting to go through the summary page and look at which version is higher for which type of activity. For instance, infrastructure for the new is higher than infrastructure for the renovated is new because you're not building that, you know, as much new steel framing and, you know, concrete and material costs. And then you get into sort of temporary conditions on renovated is new and they're higher. This is higher than renovated is new.
The demolition.
Yes, yeah, the selective demolition is more.
So, before we go into the demolition of a building as well, to address the potential of the conditions beneath the field,
We have not done any testing beneath the field.
do we feel that there's issues there? And if so, do we know what the potential issues may be?
We did highlight it. We do know that there was some backfill done at some point in the history of the project site, and toward the northern end of the field, there was a apparent water course or a continuation of a water course, perhaps a wetland. Certainly, there should be investigations done at some point when the project is actually moved forward. We've retained the proposed addition back away from that quite some distance. We're into the bank that separates that. It's about a 10-foot elevation change from the upper to the lower.
Okay.
And I'm pretty confident. I mean, I don't want to again sound too to fly too close to the sun, as it were, but this is not the first site that we've worked on that's been damp, and it happens quite regularly. For whatever reason, Connecticut likes to build schools on swampland, so there's all sorts of amendments, and as you I'm sure are aware, that can be implemented to make it a safe and well constructed structure.
And soil improvement sort of, you know, piles under the building is becoming a more and more viable approach with less cost impact than I've seen, like say, even 10 years ago.
Right.
We've done that recently, actually. School we're working on in West Haven had a similar issue with theirs. I mean, it's might have been a water course under the school, and it's at a, you know, the site is at 15 feet above sea level, and we put soil improvements in there, and our estimate showed a savings of a large savings of, I want to say it was like $500,000.
Okay, because
To go with soil improvements.
the
So
one
there
thing
are
I
lots of
would not
options.
want to do is put a school in that field and down the road have a,
Have settlement issues, absolutely not.
exactly.
Or water infiltration, yeah,
Right,
definitely.
right.
The next would be, I see this beautiful field in here. Is that included in the cost?
Yes.
It is.
It can't be, if you want to make it artificial turf, that's an eligible, but we included natural grass.
Turf is kind of a sore subject around here.
Four-letter word.
That cost right there.
No.
This is great.
It's a four-letter word.
Turf is a four-letter word around here lately.
Should have been. Fund it right.
You mentioned temporary displacement. I understand that would be tough on the kids, but I know if need be, I know temporary displacement, you talk about bringing modules, and it was brought up at one time about bringing modules in to put the kids there, but possibly move the fifth graders up to the middle school, with the sixth, seventh, and eighth graders, there's room up there, or maybe move them over to Chatfield. I want to make sure please understand is, I would love this, but I have to ask these questions.
Oh, yeah, understood.
Okay.
Well, there's still a cost to that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
even though the
Well,
classrooms are there, they still need to be, occupied, they need to be maintained, they need to be outfitted, even minimally. You're gonna have, I'm assuming, some parents that are gonna be upset about the fact that they have to travel up there if they drop their kids. You have busing issues that result from that. So this, I really do feel firmly that the new construction alternative is the least different in terms of the way the school currently functions. You can really maintain essentially everything. Now, granted, there's going to have to be some separation on site between construction and parent traffic, and that's going to be a displacement. But beyond that, once they're inside the building, they're effectively in the same structure that they have been.
Phasing of elementary schools is particularly challenging because they tend to be smaller, so you have less space to swing into. And we looked at a variety of different options when we were trying to determine what number to carry with Tom. And because we think it will end up being, it would end up being a mix of solutions. Like if you have maybe you have a couple of portables, maybe you're moving kids off site, but our initial phasing, we were looking at, depending on which of the 6 overlapping phases you're talking about, we were looking between 3 and 11 classrooms are offline at any particular phase. So some are, you could move some to a different building. There's a cost associated with that. You could possibly reconfigure spaces like the gym to hold a few classrooms. You could put portables out there, site. There are a lot of options. And we carried $1 million, which if you put more portables on the site, it's probably more like 2. We recently did a school where we had an available building that was not in terrible shape. It was a little small. We augmented it with several portables and did some minor work to get the kids back into that school, and that was $1 million. So, we're trying to be fair with it, that cost could go up.
And I don't remember, when we did Chatfield, LaPresti School, now we combine it, we know that the children were still in LaPresti School as Chatfield was being
Yes.
built. But the kids were in Chatfield School when
Yes.
those additions were being
Yes.
put on, right?
The new portion of the building was built first, and then as the old portion, the original portion of the building was renovated, children were moved into the new section.
So the lifeboat.
Yes, yes.
And, we had talked briefly offline about, the Bungie School, building new school and then having the Bungie School. That could potentially be used as a community center for us. I don't know if we would we would want to knock that building down, and we could use it as maybe a newer community center than what the school we have now. So, the field, these are just things that, we would like to look at
So
too.
you keep the existing Bungie Elementary and go to new?
I think that might be a risk with,
Maybe a portion of it, the center,
Yeah.
and maybe
Yeah.
one of the wings.
well, but you'd really have to, for safety reasons, you really have to make sure there was a line drawn there if you have the public in such close proximity in large numbers to a school, especially after all the school shootings. I would have concerns with that personally, but maybe you can make it work, I don't know.
I think you would have to potentially surrender at least one of the fields that we were
Right.
proposing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
depending on how large the community center might be.
These are just thoughts. I mean, the building coming down was kind of it was I was kind of a shock. But listen, this is just something we have to, these are just talking points. And it's a great idea. There's a softball field and a multi-purpose field. Looks like a soccer field?
Soccer, football.
Yeah,
Yeah,
soccer.
multi-use
Size
field.
for that. We say multi-purpose because, I don't know, whenever we say soccer, somebody goes, no, not soccer.
lacrosse field.
Yeah.
We're trying to be
Lacrosse.
You can
Outside
play
field.
whatever you want on
Right.
it. That's
Exactly.
the purpose. Yeah.
But, you know, the big thing we talked about, when we did the Bungie, the Chatfield La Presse schools, we just received our funding back over a year ago from the state when we built that. So, all in all, right, I just want to make sure we're all looking at the same number. If we, before the reimbursement for back from the school, because the town would have to, as you said, put out the money out for this,
The 11%, right?
right? I get to my page. So the total project cost renovation, $58,610,515.
Sounds right.
Right, new construction, $58,057,766 is what we would actually have to go out to bond for.
Is it the full amount or just the full share? I think
I
it's,
thought it was the full appropriation, the number on the bottom, the
$24,520, $24,522,025.
It'd be notes, through you, Madam First Selectman, would be notes for the full amount, the gross amount of the bill. And then we would make permanent the net amount that the town would be responsible for.
Okay. All right. We have the, put it all there. Listen, I'm excited about a new school. I think the kids deserve to have a new school, Bungie School, 1954. I think it's a great, the, 2 levels, bringing that up since it's been so old. But we just have to make sure we put, because this does have to go to referendum. And I just want to make sure that everybody has in front of them all the information, how much it's going to cost, what is the breakdown on the renovation, what are we looking at, making sure those total costs are there, as well as the new school. That's all my questions were.
If I may,
Yep.
sorry,
do you think that your numbers will be refined anymore in the near future?
I don't anticipate it unless we, find some issue with them, but
Okay.
we've been through them several times.
Okay.
Lisa was reminding me, we've actually spoken with Tim about the alternative of not doing anything for the school, if that's a
The
consideration.
answer to the question, why do we have to do this, why don't we just maintain the building and fix what's wrong with it?
So we have an answer, but we don't have to talk about it.
You have an answer?
Well, we have the cost of
Yeah.
keeping
Say
things.
Yeah.
that would be-
It's the basic cost of just our basic, like HVAC, electrical upgrades, just like putting lipstick on a pig, right? You name 12 million, something like that. So
Band-aid method.
It's a
That's all
Band-Aid.
it's gonna get. It's still the same footprint, same
Right.
size classroom, nothing different.
Same inefficiencies, everything.
Right,
Exactly, so it's kinda.
it's an answer for the public that's going to ask.
And that does
They are
not,
going to ask.
that does not address the educational specifications of 21st century education.
Right. It doesn't address the needs of,
It's in the old building.
that doesn't, but, to the point, we have to make sure that we address all the questions that are going to be asked of us and that we've all done our due diligence
So
on that.
if I may, one of the things that's very impressive being on the committee and working with Antonazzi Associates is they've been very thoughtful and very detailed in the amount of work done as far as costs and estimates. And I mean, no one else might have been surprised, but the fact that they did come in so close, frankly, the fact that new came in lesser than renovate as new was shocking. But, a couple of things that we want to keep in mind. With the age of Chatfield and the last renovation and what we've uncovered in looking at the school, you can see where every addition is added on to. A lot of the space, when you're looking at the square footage, is basement, which is useless. I did have some recommendations for that, but, like principal's office, that's where you might, we'll leave that for another conversation. But in any case, there's also the idea that there is no cost to have to find a place to put the students when they'd have to be moved if we were doing renovate as new. Not only is there no cost, but that having to do that is a huge disruption to their schooling. That is, to me, that's detrimental. Also, having them in a school where throughout the day, whether it's even just as they're arriving or leaving, to be able to see and get excited about a new building going up and asking questions. I mean, what a learning opportunity for that period of time as well. Again, when you look at all of the costs, there are some individual costs that when you're building as new, are more expensive than when you're renovating. There's also that additional cost for the demolition of the building that wouldn't be there if you were renovating. However,
It actually costs more to selectively demolish portions of the building and remove hazardous materials.
right, I was going to get to that point. Nope, that's okay. No, I appreciate you saying that. However, when you look at the overall cost, it is less to build as new. It will provide us rather confidently, we can't say because we don't have an answer yet, but relatively confidently an additional 10%, which means that our reimbursement rate is equal to what it would be for reimburse as new. And I think with all of the benefits for the children and the educational experience and the less interruption are also huge benefits that we need to take into consideration for these couple of grade levels and couple of years that it will have somewhat effect on their learning and their educational experience. So we would want to look at, with all things equal, it being a positive experience rather than one that could be interfering. So I won't say that I wasn't excited to find out the renovate is new was less than, because as soon as it both were presented, and you did a wonderful job with the renovate is new. I mean, it was very thoughtful, even with the phasing of moving kids out to renovate and what phases to do. It was just such a thoughtful process. But the idea of being able to build new, having a separate entrance for the bus, keeping the fields, but just kind of switching how everything works, having the parents have an accessible access to drop their kids off. It's just such a win-win, and I'm very excited about it.
But you did mention something else. Did we do a hazardous building study yet?
I haven't. I was afraid that was going to come up. We have to be completely honest. We have been mired in getting our agreement settled, not on anybody's part of the cities or the town side. On top of my own busy schedule, we had a change in the AIA document software, so it's necessitated that we go back and regenerate the agreement, and I did recently send that back to the town attorney, but it's still in process. Once that's in place, we do have the quote for tie and bond, and we'll get them underway with the existing conditions assessment. ESA environmental site assessment is phase 1 analysis done for the property.
It's the phase 1, but what about a hazardous assessment of the building?
Oh, no, that hasn't been done. Actually, so the agreement, or when we took on the project, there was an allowance set aside for that, but that hasn't been moved forward.
You are carrying a number for it.
Okay, you are carrying a number for it, because
Sorry, yeah, it's built into the estimate, for sure.
because I know we have the phase 1, right, and I understand what has to be done with the phase 1. But I'm looking at, if we're talking about demoing a building, we're talking about doing a hazardous building assessment on there, and what we have to take away, and what maybe potentially we could save, and what maybe potentially we can't save.
Sure.
I want to look at all that as well.
The cost for the demolition, if I recall, and correct me because I don't remember what the cost was, but the cost for the demolition to deal with any hazardous material is in there. A lot of that, if you're doing reno as new, is not uncovered until we're doing things such as removing a window. And that's when those things are uncovered. That's when it becomes extremely costly. So that's just another benefit to your point. of the new building.
Well, it will become costly when we have to take it off-site and have to pay for it as a hazardous waste, though.
Right.
Okay.
And there are ways to classify when you're removing the entire building, there are ways to
Capsulate
classify
it.
the waste so that it's not as, financially painful.
I would have to hate to send off a whole roll-off contaminated as PCBs,
Yeah.
just because of one little test.
So, yeah, and that's a whole separate conversation.
Correct.
But there's a strategy we can employ for that as well.
I mean, you've encountered that in the past, right?
Very regularly, yes.
Bob?
Good.
Okay,
If I may.
absolutely.
In terms of going forward, we need to file our application for reimbursement with the State Department of Administrative Services by June 30th, correct?
That's correct.
And to do that, we have to set the referendum date. So we don't need to do that today or now, but we have to get that date for the application by early May, you mentioned? Okay.
Ideally, toward the end of May is the ideal date so that it's not at the last minute.
And we can schedule the referendum after the filing of the application, as long as we can have the referendum, hold the referendum after the application is filed, as long as we have it scheduled.
And the state will generally just wait for the final approval upon approval of the referendum.
So at some point, we have to decide what date we want the referendum. I'm going to turn to Chatfield O'Presti, and this was our Political Action Committee sign. The referendum was on October 7th, 2008. There was a lot of discussion by the Board of Selectmen at the time, August of 2008, about holding the referendum on Election Day. The decision was made to go to October 7th, separated from the other. It was a presidential election year. But this is what we did for Chatfield O'Presti, and what we're going to be complimenting Chatfield O'Presti with the new school.
And Antonazi Associates will be heavily involved in working with our public at the schools, whether it's at parent-teacher night come September, or meet the teacher, and just like they did with Chatfield O'Presti, so that the residents do get all of the information they desire and need and can ask questions.
If I may, if we could ask Mr. Kubik, who's co-chairman of the committee, if he has any comment, if I may.
Pete, can you come?
Pete, you have to come up.
On the microphone, please.
And you have to state your name and address for the record, please.
Peter Kubik, co-chair of the building committee, 31 Mead Farm Road. I just wanted to say too, a lot of kudos to Antonazi Associates. They've worked hard, and although they didn't present the details of the breakdown for both the options, they provided us a very detailed cost estimate for each phase. Each I should say. What's the word I'm looking for? Each discipline within the whole operation, from top to bottom, including soft cost, furniture, etc. So I think they're all deserving of kudos for what they did. I think they provided a detailed information, and I think it's going to go a long way. I think one of the key things that we do have to make clear, although we have to go to referendum for the full amount, we need to make it very clear that it's the reimbursement rate, because people don't see that. They're going to see the big number, and that message has to get across that we're only going to be paying approximately 33% of what this school is going to cost. And I was also surprised at the numbers as they came in, just because you think that if you're going to fix something that's there. But this is going to give us everything we need at the right size classrooms and the right size gym and the right size everything to for a 21st century educational system. And I know they spent a lot of time at the school interviewing, I think, all the teachers, right? I mean, every classroom and administration and stuff. So there's a lot of work that has gone into this from both the committee side and our architects. So, thanks to them.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete.
Okay, So the next one on the list is discussion and possible action regarding cost estimate for the options of renovation, expansion / alteration of a new construction of Bungay Elementary School.
I would like to make a motion that we proceed with the construction of a new, planning for the construction of a new school, and that we vote on a referendum date in the near future.
I would second that motion.
Motion by Fred, second by Trish. Discussion?
Just an add, what we're gonna have to have is the messaging to be very clear about new versus rebuild. And the closest in that number, we are gonna have a very clear message of how to communicate that to the community. Because that's gonna be, everybody's gonna say, it's cheaper just to fix it, right? So we're gonna have to pull out of that detailed information a lot of the messaging, so everybody's communicating the same thing, too, as a board, to the community.
I agree. I agree, but I also feel we have to do our due diligence on this as well. And show that by, renovating, this is everything we have to do to renovate. You know what I mean? Have that list that we were shown. Listen, if we renovate, we have to have all this done. And if new, yes, it makes sense to do new. So I think that, we should be able to show that we've compared apple to apple.
Yeah, it's just gonna be challenging for people to believe that a new construction would be the same price, or less than if we refurbish. We just have to have a good message, that's all.
Right.
Pat?
Thank you for your presentation tonight, and hope to get the copies when you get a chance to get them. Just to go along with what Bob said as far as the message, I think that's, something that's very crucial and very important. And I would almost go out on the limb and say the sooner that it gets done, the better. And by that I mean, let's not be waiting till the last minute and somebody pulling the trigger to the gun, as you might not want. So your comment is well taken.
Teresa?
Absolutely. We have to get the message out starting now. I mean, it's got to be out there continuously to people to let them know what's going on, how much more, how much we're going to be getting out of a new build as opposed to what we're going to have to go through to renovate as new, or whatever we use for those terms now. Fred has the nice signs. Those will be great for that day, the week before. But until that, we really need to get into people's heads. This is good for our community. It's good for our students, it's good for our teachers, and it's good for all of us. We all reap the rewards coming back. As I said before, when you first came to, I think Pete was here, the first meeting that we had, we all, I'm a Seymour educated person. I'm a nurse practitioner. Fred's a Seymour educated person. He's a town attorney, or he's an attorney in town. We look at each other around here. We're products. So what we put into our school systems, we're going to get back for generations. So I hope we can get strong messaging out there, and it's a continuous message. Thank you.
I was going to forward the detail ahead of this meeting, but I thought I made the decision that it would be better for everybody to get the broad view and then delve into the detail. So you'll get the detail.
Fine.
The committee, the building committee is committed to making the public aware of all aspects of this plan and educating the public.
Okay. All in favor?
I'd like to, Trish, did you make your comments?
I did. Yeah, I thought you made your comments already.
I'd just like to add that I think it's an absolute blessing that the new construction will cost less than a renovation. I thought odds were we're gonna have to renovate, and I think our community deserves this, and our kids deserve this, and I think we need to push this forward. The research has been done, as long as nothing else creeps up, and we're gonna get more money potentially in renovations. I absolutely think it's a no-brainer, so I fully support it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All set? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Discussion and possible action to schedule an adjourned town meeting referendum to approve funding for the renovation expansion on new construction at Bungay Elementary School.
Are we ready to do that, or do we want to table it and talk about it?
You want to table that until January 7th?
Why don't we table it?
Yeah, I think right.
I think we set a date now. I mean, we ready?
Okay.
Right?
Let's do it.
Well, exactly.
No idea what's gonna cost. Oh, I couldn't hear you, Kirk.
It doesn't set the date because we have done no impact on what the actual cost is going to be and things like that when we do the debt service. So set the referendum date, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Referendum date.
I'll make a motion that we schedule the referendum for the first Thursday in October
Okay.
of 2025.
First Thursday in October for 2025.
It worked with Sheffield Lopresti. I'm confident it will work again.
It's only 54 million. So the first Thursday in October in 2025. Oh, it's my dad's birthday, Yom Kippur, October 2nd. Also the day that the B-52 bomber went into the air. First Thursday, 2025.
Do you, Madam President, we were just debating if it was Yom Kippur that day.
It is Yom Kippur that day.
Okay, then let's
But
not.
I don't want that.
How about the second, I'll amend my motion, the second Thursday of October 2025.
Hold on, let me. Is October 9th.
Oh, no, I meant 22nd, sorry.
It's October 9th. It's not Rosh Hashanah.
Is that Rosh Hashanah?
No.
Okay. Beat Park.
The awards committee met earlier, and we would like to table that
Brian leaves.
until the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Discussion and possible action regarding the Board of Selectmen's recommendation for consideration to the Charter Revision Commission. So, everybody has a copy of the charter. Did we go into, or? We'll take a 5-minute recess.
5 minutes?
Good night.
All right, so table that, right?
We tabled item number 10. Are we ready? We're back into session. Have a motion to go back in to session?
No, they both come off.
I'll move that we
Just keep
resume
coming off.
the meeting.
Motion by Fred,
Second.
second by Al. Go back in at 8:53. Okay? We tabled item number 10 to 1-7, discussion and possible action. Okay, I mentioned it, but then everybody got up. Discussion and possible action regarding the Board of Selectmen's recommendations for consideration for the Charter Revision Commission. I'm charging everyone on this committee to please go through the charter, which is available online, as well as copies, Leanne, are still available in the town office, right? To go through the charter, everybody is to go through the charter, come up with your changes as you would like the Charter Revision Commission to look, to review. They will be at our meeting on January 7th, and their first meeting is going to be January 27th at 6 o'clock.
I have put together proposals of my own. I'll present those next time.
Everybody by the Friday before the Charter Revision Commission, send me whatever recommendations they have. What I'll do is I'll compile them to make it a little bit easier for everybody, so you have one document to look at.
Right.
And then also I can work with the rest staff and resolutions ready to go, just to make it a little bit easier on that night.
Rich?
That is the correct way to go. I was the chairman of the last charter revision, okay, and it went very, very smooth, so that we don't have a shuffling of paper here.
Board is the appointing authority has the right under state statute to direct the Charter Revision Commission to review certain matters. And to do that, rather than have individual, that's not how it works. You work as a collective. If you have all your topics, you put it together in a resolution and direct it to them as a charge, and they're required to take a look at everything and report back on it. The other thing is, what date do you want the charter report to come back? It's 16 months from the beginning to the end on the outside, but it could be a date before 16 months.
Right.
And you can do that by resolution as well. So, your topics that you want them to take a look at, and think about the date. Do you want a date before 16 months?
Yes, we do. I think we want it in August.
So, could we have Rick?
So
Brian?
I can
Brian?
prepare a draft resolution that we think will probably give enough time to get all your dates that you have. Does that make sense? Okay.
So the reason why I want is the Charter Commission, as Rich said, we give them the charge, and I want all the boards of select persons' voices heard as to what they would like to see in the charter. So when we send them to Kurt, he'll have a tab of, Teresa would like to see this looked at, Trish would like to see this looked at, and then that will be part of the record. So it's not, well, who wanted this? And then we'll see what Teresa wanted, what Trish wanted, what Fred wanted. So everybody can see, we don't have 25 things of, please look at the budget, the way the budget process is. Right?
So are we doing January 7th or the week before January 27th?
No, January 7th, we want to have our list prior
To the meeting.
So that I could draw up a resolution.
prior to the meeting on the 7th.
This would be the board's charge to the commission. Look at these.
So you want it by December 31st?
By the way, just because you give them a list of topics and they have to report back at some point to
Right.
tell you what they think of your topic.
They don't have to look at it.
They can write any report they want. Once you open the
By the
charter,
3rd, Teresa.
that's theirs.
Good, but doesn't matter, yeah,
Through you, Madam President, January 3rd.
January 3rd, okay.
That'll give me the weekend to get it compiled.
Yep.
So I have that Tuesday meeting.
By
That
January,
obviously would not be in your packets, but I'll have that.
okay? Is everybody okay with that? Okay, and then their first meeting is going to be January 27th, which is a Monday at 6 o'clock. I know, Leanna, I originally said the 22nd, but I have been reminded that somebody turns a double nickel that day. Snap, right? So,
And where are their meetings going to be conducted?
so the first meeting is going to be in the Flattery the Flannery Room, sorry.
Flaherty.
But Flaherty Room, sorry, it's getting late. And they're also set their meeting dates that day, so the first meeting will be a special meeting, and then thereafter, they will have their meeting dates set in time.
That'll be the organizational meeting.
Correct. Okay. Item number 12, discussion and possible action, right? Discussion and possible action regarding request for blight citation waiver for 196 Walnut Street. In your packet, you'll see that there's a letter from Blight Enforcement Officer John McKenzie looking for the 196 blight citation waiver request. Rich?
Under the ordinance, you have the authority to power to waive a blight fine, if you so choose. This gentleman is asking for consideration. If you give me a blight, the blight situation related to overgrown vegetation. There were a number of photographs in your packet. It's not something that I am personally familiar with, but I saw the photographs, or you can see the photographs. The blight officer made a negative recommendation to the homeowner's request. So, I think but it's your authority. It's completely within your discretion as to whether to waive it or not.
What is this board's pleasure? So just for the record, to let everybody know, the blight total amount was over $5,000. The owner of the property was completely unaware of this. Just to have it landscaped, it will cost him $2,600. So if he paid the fine plus that, it's $7,600. So he's looking for this fine to be forgiven.
He was allegedly unaware, right? Because you look at John McKenzie's letter dated November 26 of 24, he sent this, he's representing, Mr. McKenzie, is representing, this has been going on since 2023. He sent 2 notices to Mr. Kolpinski at 196 Walnut Street back in July 2023, no response. And then in 24, he sent a first notice citation, certified letter with return receipt, when unclaimed, returned to Mr. McKenzie, United States Postal Service. And then the second notice, and it said that was unclaimed and returned to sender. And then all of a sudden, on November 20th, 2024, the blighted conditions have been corrected. So this gentleman, Mr. Kolpinski at 196 Walnut Street, seems to have ignored no less than 4 notices about this since 2023. And it's Mr. McKenzie's recommendation that the blight citation not be waived. So I have no reason not to believe Mr. McKenzie that this is what he did as the blight enforcement officer. So I would be against any waiver of this, unless you or somebody else on this board tells me differently.
Thank you. Teresa?
Now, can you just clarify to me what this means when it says about the notice, notice of citation, certified letters with return receipt when unclaimed and returned to sender? What does that actually mean?
So if you send out certified mail to Teresa,
Right.
and the person who's there to sign it, you don't sign for it.
Correct.
It will
Be returned to sender.
be returned to sender.
So he didn't get those
So if he
notices.
was working,
Not get those certified letters.
It's not like he wrote return to sender on there.
He did not
Right.
receive those certified letters.
Could have been in the military. I don't know.
It's too bad Mr. Kolpinski's not here, as we've had some in the past come in person. He might not, I don't know, because, I'd like to know what the plan is going forward. I would hate to waive the fine and then that's seen as, us.
So we just, on that, Trish, I want to clarify one thing. Because I'm not clear. Wasn't it
It is
Yes,
rectified.
It is remedied.
So-
I don't want it to be seen if it's, the fine's waived though, that for the next year, we're going to be spent, because we're using, our blight enforcement officers are spending time to have to go out and check and make sure that he's maintaining his property. So, I mean, I would rather see him spend the money to keep the property up than to collect it as the town, but I don't want to be lackadaisical and not collect anything, because that kind of sends a message to feel free to do what you want next year too. So,
I was
No,
gonna, I
that's what I
swear I was
said,
gonna
amend
head,
it.
I don't think we forego it, I think we reduce it.
But he also cleaned up his property too.
right, which is more important. I'd like him to continue
Correct.
doing that.
That's an awfully long time for neighbors to have dealt with that, dating back to 2023. So they dealt with it for,
So she says, while I was ignorant as to how blight enforcement works, I'm not anymore. Now that I'm connected with a landscaper, I can promise that there'll be no further blight issues at my farm. Go ahead, sorry about it.
we'd be sending the wrong, again, this is not 1 year, this is 2 years, I don't know. Because that was probably before July that it occurred, that it was happening. Got all the way to July where the notices were issued. Then a full year where neighbors had to deal with that. So I'm not saying to charge them the 5,000, but you may still keep a fine or a reduced fine from a principal standpoint.
Pat? Oh, sorry, Trish.
Well, I would be in favor of reducing it by 50%, and let's call it a night. That's my recommendation.
Trish?
The two notices that were issued in July 2023 and September 2023, it doesn't state how those notices were given. Do we happen to know?
Well, it would be based on a complaint that was filed, though.
They don't do that.
No, I know,
anymore.
but how did he give the notice to the homeowner? Was something posted on his door? Was a
Well, it
letter
says-
left, or?
Notice violation 1 and first notice of citation, the certified letter
2024, though.
with return receipt when unclaimed, right?
Right. Well, Michael Morganski was the initiator of the initial enforcement.
Well, in the past, when people have cleaned up their property, I mean, again, they've been present, and there were extenuating circumstances in monitoring. We've waived it entirely. For something like this, I mean, I would be willing, I mean, I'm gonna throw a number out there. I would say reduce it to 500. And because it's very clear, I was gonna ask the same question Teresa asked what this means. It's very clear he didn't get those other notices because he didn't sign. It's not that he returned them and ignored those. I'm unclear about 2023, so, again, I'd rather see the funds go to clean up the property and maintain it. So,
Okay. We ready for the picture?
Fred?
I would be sympathetic to the property owner if he were claiming some type of economic hardship, illness, or some claim other than he didn't have notice. He was provided notice. I think we all have an obligation when we receive a registered or certified letter to claim the letter, to claim the notice, and become aware of what's in that notice. While I'm sympathetic to his plea that he spent the money now to clean up the yard, I am going to say that he should be imposed a fine that our ordinance, which we as a board pass without showing any hardship, I'm going to go with the recommendation of the blight enforcement officer.
Full amount?
And I know this is a very tough one. because what you're saying, Fred, and then, you know, you read his letter and it says, "What I'm desperately hoping for is forgiveness of the fine, if possible, as I simply cannot afford it, nor was I aware that it was accruing significantly each day. I work long hours as most of us do, but I live on a single income." So, I don't know I don't know in our ordinance where there's wiggle room for us to work on this. I think we're all thinking the same thing, is $5,000 is a lot of money in today's.
That's a
It is.
It's a lot, and,
It is.
and I know though we have that in our
$7,760.
ordinance, but there's this gray area, like if he was
Well-
not aware,
Andy, if he paid 2,600 to get it done, I mean, he did lump out a lot of cash to do that,
Yep.
right? But the fine still should
we need a fine.
be imposed.
The problem for me is he was willfully ignorant. You know, he ducked looking at the certified letters. You get that, you have an obligation to go and rip it open. So I think he knew very well what those were gonna say after getting the first two notices. That said, if the board is not comfortable with the entire fee, then, you know, propose a new number.
Okay, well, we have 50%, 500, full.
I'd fall on the side of the 500 with Trish. I think it's a fair number. He paid 26, pays an extra 5. I don't know.
How are we coming up with a number of $500?
Yeah, seems random.
Just wondering what your thought process is.
Well, first of all, I do think we need to have an aggressive blight ordinance. However, when people clean up their properties and show, I mean, that's good faith there. I mean, he's on our radar now and has stated he will maintain it, and it's obvious, he has stated he's aware. He's writing this letter. I'm more interested in the property being cleaned up and remaining cleaned up than
Then the fee.
how much are we going to make off of
Correct.
residents?
Right.
So it's a penalty to pay to not ignore it, but use your money to maintain your property, and we won't bother you again. Now, if this person were to come in front of us again, I would hope because let's be honest, in 2 years from now, I don't know that I'm gonna remember the name off the top of my head. Hopefully, when the blight enforcement officer, if it ever does happen again, writes his letter, he reminds us, and then I would not be in favor of reducing anything, because that would, to me, be obviously willful
It almost
at
sounds
that
like we
point.
need like a first offense, you know, the
We need a
first time.
tiered
And exactly, if it
consequence.
happens
And
again,
that's what
then
the
it's
blight-
$5,000. I really don't care. I don't feel bad for you then.
And that's what blight was, when they want, because the blight ordinance, they want to change it and they want to put a tiered
Right.
in.
Yeah.
And I think that need is
It's a
there. We're really
fair-
showing it tonight.
I mean, I'll go with the majority on this. It's just, we have an ordinance, we have a fine schedule, we should abide by it. All of us would say the same thing, we can't afford this. None of us would want to pay $5,000.
Right.
Especially around Christmas time.
Put 'em on a plan.
I know who Santa Claus is here.
Not me.
I think because he went off and he did pay somebody to do some work,
Mhm.
and again, the
He
burden
paid
is
half
to
of it
keep
already.
up with it, right? So that 500, that's why when you mentioned before, the 500 is just a number that says, okay, our number was 5,000. He's going to end up paying 3,100. It's a fair number to get him to a place where he's going to repeatedly keep up with his yard.
And to let them, and the 500 isn't, it's like a smack in the hand to remind them, you did have to pay something.
Yeah, it's something that you heard that could get worse
Yeah.
if you don't take care of it.
And I agree, we do have an obligation, Selectman Stanek, to take, be responsible if you were getting these notices, but I can totally see this not being a priority for him to pick up with his schedule and then, being shocked at how much it was accruing each day. And I do believe and trust it's a lesson learned.
So we're looking to do 10% of the 5,000 then? Is that the 500?
You could look at it that
You
way,
could-
or
you
you
could
could sit
I
there and
mean,
say,
at least
you already
that's the way,
paid
yeah.
2,600, you paid 2,600 already to have the lawn fixed. you pay the landscaper 2,600. It's paying, if we pay him, if we charge him 500, it's 3,100.
Right.
I don't want to create a hardship where he can't continue to pay for the landscaper
Correct.
either, because if that's what he needs to do to maintain his property, then that's what he needs to do. So that's another reason I kind of lowballed in my head what the fine.
Oh.
And I respect the work that the applied enforcement officers do. It's not that I'm disrespecting their opinion at all. But again, my take on this has always been to clean up your property and keep it that way, and not the town wants your money. That's the penalty for not doing it.
I think we all as property owners have an obligation, and that's what the blight ordinance is saying. We all have an obligation to maintain our property. And while I understand the gentleman may be very busy, I'm very busy, but I
Right.
take care of my yard. I do most of the work myself.
I know, I see you.
Anyways, like I said, I'm willing to join the majority on the vote here. I'm not gonna fall on the sword on this one.
Make it $500, make it $500. I threw $2,600 out. You know, just to see what everybody's flavor is.
How about 500?
Make the motion.
I'll make a motion to reduce the $5,000 fee for Mr. Lipinski to $500.
Motion by Trish,
A second.
second by Bob. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose?
Aye.
You oppose?
No, said aye.
Okay. Board, motion carries. Number 13. What? Discussion and possible action regarding sale of town property. Sale of town property. A, train station parking lot. Attorney Bertula.
At some point, it might be appropriate to have an executive session on this, but tonight is not the night.
You think?
The state, the DOT has expressed their desire to acquire the Seymour, the property owned by Seymour adjacent to the train station. And so an executive session at some point would be necessary, but we do not have all of the information from the state of Connecticut at this time due to the fact that the official at the state was out of the office for an extended period of time, from what I understand. So we're hoping to get their appraisal in the very near future.
Question, is this town property or the state property?
It's town property adjacent to the train station. And they're doing an entire reconstruction, upgrade, they're planning with respect to the Seymour train station. So they're looking to acquire town property that's adjacent to it. They're also doing an upgrade at the Derby train station. They're working on the Waterbury line.
Right.
It's a whole thing.
They're looking at acquiring all the property along the rail line for parking.
Okay.
So that would be the parking spaces to the left of the train station and to the right of the train station.
Correct.
That little area, the
It's like
smaller area.
4 or 5
Right.
Right.
spaces.
Yeah, the bulk of it's to the left.
But they're also going to send us the appraisal. They haven't sent us the appraisal of the property. I think that I can't make a motion. Table the 7th.
Yes.
If I may ask, if we say no, what's the state going to do?
Take it.
Well, they
Take it.
have a certain authority that.
Yeah, that's my concern. Yeah.
Well, if they do, we have certain recourses too, if we think the value is
I like to see what they come back as, what the appraisal is.
I think we need to talk to the Department of Economic and Community Development and let that department tell transportation or whoever that this is not necessarily a good idea because we're going to have less parking.
Right, it will affect our economic development, downtown parking. It will affect downtown parking, absolutely. That's why I suggest that we table it to the 7th, but I need a motion for that.
I'll make a motion that we table the matter
Thank
until
you.
January 7th.
Motion by Fred, second by Al. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Thank you. Cogwell Road, area above 136 New Haven Ave and 35 Cogwell Road.
So this is an unusual piece of property owned by the town of Seymour, and an adjacent property owner has expressed an interest in acquiring a sliver of the property so that a development project may go forward on the adjacent property.
Is that where that retaining wall is?
Yes.
That-
So, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, Madam First Selectwoman,
I'm sure
I
somebody will.
believe this has already had an 824 review.
Correct.
Now, I'll speak generically so I can cover this once.
Thank
B,
you.
C, and D, I am told, have all been acquired through tax foreclosures. And if that is correct, when we talked about selling town property before, there's a state statute 7-163E that applies, that would require the property to be posted, that would require a public hearing. That statute doesn't apply where the community has acquired property through a foreclosure. So then the only statute that would apply is 824, and you've already had the 824 review on this. Now, the reason I'm not asking you to do anything tonight on this, I'm just telling you about it, is because a property description has to be drawn and a map, and we're gonna have to get the town engineer involved in this so we know exactly how much of a piece this particular developer is looking. This is to supplement his on-site parking.
If I may, with regard to B, I do not believe that land was acquired through a foreclosure.
B was not. B was always town-owned property.
Oh,
B was acquired through condemnation as part of the industrial park back in the 80s.
then we would have to do a 7163 process that would require posting and a public hearing before we sell that one.
This was excess land that was not incorporated really in the plan of the industrial
Into
park,
the industrial park,
but it was acquired through condemnation, eminent domain.
so that is not a tax foreclosure, that's exactly right. In which case, then we have to comply with 7163. But the main thing is, if we're introducing it tonight, we need to do work, because we don't have a legal description. So, and a map showing exactly how much is gonna be carved out of this
Right.
property. So, with that, I would ask that this be tabled as well.
Table?
Get the deeds.
Motion to table.
Thank you, Pat.
Second.
Second by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. 14, ordinance committee discussion and possible action.
You have two more matters.
Oh, sorry.
C and D, you have 13 Dolan Circle, which is property you're all familiar with, because we talked about it before here.
That was that was by foreclosure.
And that was taken by foreclosure, I understand, and I know 18 Nor Avenue was taken by foreclosure because I did that one. So, I can tell you that, definitively. From what I understand, on both of these, the adjacent property owners looking to acquire these parcels that have little or no value. What we would need as C and D is to have an 824 review on both of them. So I would ask for a motion to report 13 Dolan Circle and 18 Nor Avenue to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the purpose of performing an 8-24 review.
I need a motion?
Make a motion for 13 Dolan Circle and 18 Nor Avenue to go to planning and zoning for an 18-3,
8-24
sorry, 8, that was really wrong, 8-24 review.
Second.
Motion by Trish, second by Al. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Number 14, ordinance committee discussion authorizing the use of automated traffic enforcement and safety devices, we need to set a public hearing for January 7th, 2025 at 6:45.
Make a motion to set a public hearing for the automated traffic enforcement safety device for Tuesday, January 7th, 2025 at 6:45 PM.
Motion by Trish,
Second.
second by Alberno. Discussion.
Emery, what are the safety devices specifically?
This
Just
is
curious.
the red light, this is the red,
Traffic.
Thank you.
It's essentially cameras and traffic lights,
Yeah.
things like that. I think you did the review last 2 meetings ago.
Yeah.
meetings
When it was
ago.
brought
Yeah.
up by
Yeah.
Frank Corradi.
Yeah.
This is just a public hearing that needs, that's part of the process.
I just wanted to refresh my memory what it was for. Okay, thanks.
But if I can resend it, if you want draft, I can
Yeah.
resend it.
I'm good.
Open, so, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Thank you. Open burn, this was the ordinance that was set forth by the fire marshal. Again, two meetings ago. Basically stating that if there is a high fire hazard, that they can put in violations and warnings and ticket those that are not abiding by the regulation. They want to set a public hearing, January 7th, 2025 at 6:45 PM.
Can we have that at the same time as the other one? Do two at one time, or should one be at 6:30?
We'll just notice them as part of the same public hearing.
Can notice it at the same public hearing.
Okay. I'll make a motion to set a public hearing for the open burn for Tuesday, January 7th at 6:45.
Second.
Motion by Trish, second by Al, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
The light? There's nothing on that.
I was just
Yeah.
there in case you wanted to discuss it.
Nope, nothing discussed. We want to have them in front of us in January to go over the tiered thing. This, all right, number 15, here we go. Couple up. Discussion and possible action regarding ARPA project budget review. A, review existing projects.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam First Selectwoman. If I could refer everyone to the handout that was at your seats tonight when you came in. We've been working right up until yesterday, trying to tighten this budget up as best as we possibly can to give the town the opportunity to maximize all of the funding that we have received. So I'm going to slowly walk you through. I asked that you just reference the ones that are highlighted in yellow. I'll try to make it a little easier. So the underground storage tanks, we've heard some information from Town Engineer Brian Mysteriak. We originally had $250,000 put into that. Obviously, we got the quotes, so we want to bring that down to $117,000. The Seymour PD HVAC improvements, we initially had that budget in at $95,000. You saw the estimates today, so we'd like to bring that up to $250,000. DPW fuel station improvements, we are just about completed with that. We originally had it budgeted at $672,233. We're asking for that number to be reduced to $649,569. For the community center roof and elevator, these are costs associated with the two steep grants that we did receive. We had $200,000 in there. I'd like to bring that down to $134,674. The municipal building security cameras, we originally had that in at $130,000, which was a number that we brought it to before. We're now able to finalize that at $118,117. And then the last one is the demolition at 25 Walnut Street. We had budgeted $50,000 for that. We're looking to reduce that to $36,000. So making all of those changes leaves us with a balance of $191,873.17. You can see that at the bottom of the difference number. So we are proposing creating 3 new projects, and I'll go into those in a little bit more detail in a minute after I just kind of go over them overall. The creation of a memorial for for our volunteer firefighters in the amount of $23,000. A new excavator for Public Works in the amount of $118,767. And then what I'm listing as all parks and fields improvement fund for $50,000. That would be used to upgrade any parks or fields in the town, including the turf field at the high school. So one of the things that I mentioned before is that we're probably going to need a special meeting at some point. The turf committee will be meeting tomorrow to finalize a recommendation to you folks. Assuming we're able to do that and get contractual documents to select the Stan's point in time, what we'd like to do is to have that taken care of at a special meeting and be able to allocate $50,000 towards the turf field, closing that delta that we have for the outstanding fund. So that's kind of just the overall quick down and dirty here is about what motions we have to go through.
Nine.
Just in your
Who's counting?
packets. Sorry?
9, but who's counting?
Also in your packets, I just wanted to provide detail on some of the projects. Chadwick Boris, if I'm saying that correctly. This is the company on the state bid list for the excavator. So you have that information there. So one of the motions would be to, after review of town council, to approve the first select board manager and agreement with that. And then the second is an estimate from Paint with regards to a memorial at, we're not sure where we're going to put it yet, but for the fire department, which would include, as you can see, the stone and everything else that's needed, installation, delivery, and so on and so forth. In an amount not to exceed $24,500. We don't believe it's going to be anywhere near that amount, but again, we just want to cover all the bases, maximize the money that's been granted to us through the ARPA funds. With that, I'll entertain any questions and then we'll kind of work through the
Thank you.
Fire Department Memorial. How did we come up with that?
So, in the past 3 weeks, Pat? 3 weeks?
I'm sorry,
The past month, we've had like 4 members of the fire department pass away,
yes.
right? And it was brought to my attention that there was a memorial up at Shady Knoll for one of the firefighters, and it was thought that it was actually for all firefighters. Looking into it, it was actually just for one firefighter member who was actually up there, living up there, recouping up there. Then it was brought up, well, we really should, because our volunteers actually donate a lot of time.
Right.
One member was 50 years, one member was 49 years. And it's a way for us as a community to memorialize them, if you will, to remember
How about the
them.
EMS people though too?
We can,
We don't have any, I mean, they're another volunteer organization.
good point.
I mean, I know our police, we don't, they're paid if we wanted to have that, but he's looking at me. I mean, I'm all for the fire department, but I'm just saying, should we be doing it for EMS also?
It's a good point.
Madam First Selectwoman, I don't think there would be any issue to adding additional names, perhaps in fact of the memorial, or even adding another memorial if money's available, or even at a later date with regular budget funds. I don't think there's any issue with that. So this is, again, we're on a little bit of a clock with this, so we just need to get this one approved. That's not to say that we can't add on to the project, if that's the will.
If we find out that it's below the 24.5, I'm sure we can talk them into getting us another stone for
Or even if
EMS.
the board wanted to allocate additional funds to the project, that would be in the board's. I don't see
Good. Okay, I just want to exclude them because
No,
they're
I
also
agree.
a
I didn't really
volunteer
think
organization.
of, I don't want to say I didn't think of the ambulance, because we
Right.
do, and they do volunteer. It was just the fire department. We've had so
Oh, no,
many pass in the last
yep.
month. So,
I think the 23,000 is a lot more than you'll need for this initial part of the project, so I don't think there's any issue with adding on to it. At that point, it would just be a change order, so it would qualify under the ARPA rules because we're in the signed agreement.
okay. Fred?
Could it be entitled Volunteer First Responders Memorial?
I would,
I'm just asking. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking.
thank you. I would just like to do one, to Teresa's point, we could do one for the EMS, but it's just what's so many passing. And then looking down the past year, over the past years, it's a couple of years, we're losing a lot of our volunteer firefighters. And it's really hard to, in Pacasay, to get more people to come in. If we don't start feeding our volunteers, we're gonna be looking at a paid department somewhere down the road.
Just to comment a little bit about the memorial. We have a committee within Citizens that is called the Fireman's Memorial Sunday, which we have a gathering and we have clergy come in, we do some prayers and so on and so forth. But that's for our members, and I think it would be very nice to have something in a location in a town to represent all first responders that have passed. So that would be my comment.
Oh, that makes sense.
I'm good.
All first responders or fire department?
Well,
Just like
you're
regular
asking for the fire department
I'm asking for
tonight.
the fire department for
And,
tonight.
and Anne Marie's saying we could do it in the future, yeah, because you guys need to get these funds secured, right?
Yes. All right, go ahead.
So we'll go through the motion.
Yes,
Let's go.
yes, let's go.
Well, I just want to bring up one thing on this excavator. Currently, we are using and sharing with two other municipalities an excavator, and just want to bring to your attention that the scheduling and logistics for usage when we would need that is a nightmare. So I would hope that we could get this approved.
Okay. Thank you, Pat. Kirk?
Okay, so the first motion will be reduce the amount of ARP number 16, UST remediation from $250,000 to $117,000.
Make a motion for ARPA number 16 to reduce the amount from $250,000 to $117,000.
Motion by Trish, second by Bob, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Teresa?
Aye.
Oh, sorry. Chair votes aye, motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Number 2, increase amount of ARP number 44, Seymour PD HVAC improvements from $195,000 to $250,000.
Make a motion for ARP number 44 to increase the amount from $195,000 to $250,000 for the Seymour PD HVAC improvements.
Motion by Trish, second by Bob, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries.
Number 3, reduce amount of ARP number 47, DPW fuel station improvements from $672,233 to $649,569.
Make a motion for ARP number 47 to reduce the amount from $672,233 to $649,569 for the DPW fuel station improvements.
Motion by Trish. Second by Bob, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Number 4, reduce the amount of ARP number 48, community center roof and elevator from $200,000 to $134,674.
Make a motion for ARP number 48 to reduce the amount from $200,000 to $134,674 for the community center roof and elevator.
Motion by Trish. Second by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries.
Make a motion for ARP number 50, I'm just gonna go,
Go ahead.
to reduce the amount from $130,000 to $118,117 for the municipal building security cameras.
Motion by Trish,
Second.
second by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries.
Make a motion for ARP number 55 to reduce the amount from $50,000 to $36,000 for the demolition of 25 Walnut Street.
Motion by Trish, second by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Now, do we have to add these?
Yes. Go ahead.
Your turn.
Make a motion to add ARP 56, the Fire Department Memorial, $23,000 as a new project.
And just for clarification, and give the first selectman the authority to sign off on agreements pending town council.
Motion by Bob,
Second.
second by Al. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'll make a motion for ARP 57 to excavator at $118,767 as a new project.
Second.
And again, to give the first selectman authority to sign off on a quote from Chadwick Forest dated December 13th, 2020.
Motion by Bob, second by Al Bruno. Just all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries.
Make a motion to add ARP 58, all parks and field improvement fund, of $50,000 as a new project.
And again, to give the first selectman authority to enter into all agreements pending town council review.
Motion by Bob,
Second.
second by Al, all in favor.
I'm going to move to amend the motion. I'd like to amend the motion to reduce the amount to $49,950 so we could buy a new clock for this room. $25 for a new clock.
It's like Vegas here.
That was facetious, that motion,
20
that
of
amendment
10.
is facetious, but I saw the clock is going. I withdraw my amendment. Just wanted to focus on the fact the clock is going.
Fred, that was funny.
Okay,
Did we send the clock out?
we did. All right, item number 16, appointments. What? Appointments, Rob Van Egan to the Economic Development Commission, replacing Joe Orlando. It's an appointment until next election. Expiration is 12/20/26.
So moved.
Some, seconded.
Motion by Trish, second by Pat. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. That's for appointments. We have no transfers. Tax refunds and abatements. In your packet, you will see the tax refund abatement from Dana Flack. My head is bleeding.
I make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion by Trish. Who's second? Second by Pat. Okay, correspondence. In your packet, you will see that there is resignation letters from the EDC from a Henry Thompson. He is resigning. He's unable to participate in the EDC meetings. He just can't make the meetings. Then there's another one, thank you, from Joe Orlando. He's also resigning. He just doesn't have the time to make the meetings. So now, I did, just on that, just let you know, I did reach out to the DTC chair and to the RTC chairs to ask for more names to replace the member. I have not heard back from them yet. Just let you know.
We will get you a name.
Thank you. Okay. Correspondence, public comment. No public comment. Select person's public comment. We'll start with Pat Lombardi.
I am good. I just want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a joyous New Year.
Thank you. Rob?
I'm excited about the, what we heard from the school committee, and want to wish everybody happy holidays and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Trish?
Land Trust had a breakfast with Santa, and the kids were very happy that he spent some time there this past weekend. So I was excited for that. And happy holidays to everybody.
Al?
Yep, I wish everybody a relaxing break, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you in the new year.
I
Fred?
would like to comment that Mr. Miller's expression was priceless when I made my motion to reduce the one ARPA funding item.
It was.
It was priceless.
It was.
But I do want to compliment Mr. Miller for his diligence, analysis, and management of the ARPA funds. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would like to say to everyone, in the words of Clement C. Moore, the author of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Should have made him go last. I just want to help. I know.
And you're,
I know.
I gave you that opportunity.
You did. Just on that comment, the public comment, and I know Trish wanted to bring that up also, up on Washington Ave, because
Yes.
I had the opportunity of driving up there recently, and I came around the corner and it was like, whoa.
I almost hit the trailer.
Yeah, I did too.
Not twice,
So
but
I don't
3
know what
times
can
in
be
the
done,
dark.
but if you can look into that, that would be great.
Okay, yeah, it's on my thing.
It's really not halfway in the road, but where all
It
the
takes
cars
up-
park,
yeah.
it has got to be at least this much more in the road, and you
Right.
can't see it coming up. And when there's a car coming down, it's not a good situation.
Yep. I have a stack here that I was going to ask to go into executive session with tonight, but it's 9:30 and UConn's playing. But if we can possibly go in executive session next time to discuss Tri-Town? If that's the place to do it, I don't think we,
That is the pla-
thank you,
that is the place to do it because it's pending litigation.
correct. And also, I also see, once I get into that little rabbit hole of looking at the judiciary site, I see a whole bunch of other things like the Balco property. If we can go into executive session to
That is
discuss
also-
that.
That is also pending litigation.
And I guess there's a couple of those addresses there for that one. And then there's also,
Yeah,
Nor Avenue, and I'm sorry, not, is it Nor?
There are different addresses.
Two
West
different
Street.
places, right.
because
And then
we
it-
have to list them.
we have one other one for the heirs of Anna Urban? Urban? Okay, if we can just get an update on these, what's going on?
All of them should be in executive session.
Okay, yeah, because it seems like some of them are very many years going up, so,
It takes a while to move some of these.
so I appreciate that. Yeah. And that's all I have to do to say is Merry Christmas to all of you. And hopefully we'll have a great new year and move along with this Bungay School project. I'm excited that it's going to be a new school, so let's hope it all gets pushed through.
Thank you. And that was actually in January that you mentioned that to go into those executive
Right.
sessions.
Oh, when we can get it.
Yeah, because our next meetings, we do them, they're gonna be Zoom
right.
to get them done fast. All right, real quick, yeah. Gotta do mine. Town Hall will now be open Monday through Thursday. I sent y'all an email from 8 to 4:30. We're no longer closing 12 to 1. We still close on Fridays at 12. We are working on possibly staying open one night later. For those, we don't know exactly when. New payroll clerk Hillary has been hired and she seems to be doing well. The online permit process for building department is up and running. We heard about the roof at the community center, as well as the elevator, Bungay Road. Library, they replaced a full-time employee with 3 part-times, which is working out great because the librarian is offering more programs and more sessions. And we have posted for the assessors. 1 person has applied, and we'll be posting for the tax collector. And with that, I have to say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see each other Zoom for the next meeting. Oh, crapola, sorry, excuse my language. The EDC update.
Oh, good.